Hey everybody, what's going on? Happy Sunday before Monday, Labor Day. All right, woo woo. Okay. I just tried to put my hair up, and so now I'm scared to turn the camera on because it was a failed project. Okay, it was a failed project. Mm. Why are you sleeping today? You getting you some rest, Lamisa? Well, girl, hey, everybody needs it. You can't be a warrior every day. You got to get some rest. I'm just glad you're here. Hey, everybody. Okay, here we go. Oh, hey. See, I told you. See, I was like, and then it was like, psh, yeah, you don't need a reenactment. Anyways, I might turn that thing back off. I do better without it, without being on the damn camera sometimes. Okay. Sometimes it's not fun. Anyways, speaking of not fun, is our subject tonight. Our subject matter jurisdiction tonight is just like every other dark hole we go down every damn week or more. Okay. It's but I mean there's what do they call that? Rhyme to my madness, or I don't know how to say that. A method to my madness, which is usually because, whenever I'm looking at these other cases, these decades old cases, it's so weird how people and things connect together and you're like, "Oh, wow. Why? I thought that would happen." Like, I just knew somewhere down the way things are going to connect. And I've got notes everywhere. I'm like noted down right now. So we're going to try and do it. Okay. I never really pull it off, but we just do it. But hey, everybody, welcome in. Glad to see you here. Yeah. Trigger warning to anyone new joining us. We tackle a lot of rough but necessary topics. Yeah, we do. And they are necessary. And unfortunately, if our government and people in higher places would do what they're supposed to do, you know, actually implement, like, not just create new laws and all that stuff, if they would actually follow the law and not let anybody be privy, then I think we'd be a lot better. But we can't seem to lift off, it's like it's like we're working an uphill battle. However, I'm not one to give up. So, okay, I'm looking for the one notes I do need. Oh, it's stuck right here. I do believe. I told y'all I have notes. I got the notes. Okay. So I don't even know how to go into it because what I did was I watched it on We Are the People Utah podcast. Okay. And it's my friend Justin Riggs who he has LDS abuse dot com, I believe. I don't think it's an org, but he was really nice and generous, like just not many people that are Mormon at one time. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not trying to be weird, but it's just this is a weird area, we're swimming in weird waters over here. And you kind of don't know who you can trust and if you can trust, and if you even need help, but along the way, I met Justin Riggs, and he was on not preparing people. We the People Utah podcast, which they've been digging really deep into SRA, and I'm like, well, me too. And so they have like Goel on there quite a few times from investigations and ritual abuse. But this is a different side, one that I haven't really. And I mean, I've read about it over the years. It's the alleged, I'll say alleged, so I don't get got. The alleged, it's an LDS, of course, uh, bountiful pedophile ring. Okay. So I'm going to use the big words today. So you saw my thumbnail, right? I was like, F it. I heard Justin say it the other night in his presentation. He said pedophiles and prophets. And I was like, that goes together. That marries together like no other. So, but I'm just going to kind of give you a heads up. Like, yes, definitely trigger warning because I'm going to let it rip. They let it rip. I'm going to let it rip. Okay. Because instead of me reading it, we're gonna follow along basically. And this is the Neal A. Maxwell connection, and it goes to good old Tommy boy, old Timmy and Tommy. This is Thom Harrison's book, Visions of Glory. Oh, geez, huh? Well, this is the Neal Maxwell connection, and I was like, what? Holy shit! Okay, I now have content, Which, I mean, we have tons of content, but I don't know. Y'all, I need help. All right. I'm so glad to see you guys. Hey, Joe. I'm so sorry. I was like, what time's it going kicking off? He's like, we're about to end. And I'm like, I'm blow drying my hair now. So sorry, Joe. But I can't wait to watch it after this. No, don't read Visions of Glory. Look, I know I found a copy of this book. I mean, I didn't buy these copies. I have 2 copies that my friend Jen gave me. She got them from DI, which is Deseret Industries, she lives in Utah. So, um, but there was some place I went online. I'll have to get back to you on that. Don't buy it, please. We don't want to put money in the profits in their pockets. It's not worth it. So, but if you want to, until I get back to you on that link where you can download this book for free, I can send you over to Wordwise, which is Kit. We love her channel. Kit is amazing. She's like I don't know. I need to go back and figure out where she wrote what she does for a living because it's where she analyzes books. Okay. Writers, authors, Chad. She did all of Chad's books. She's taken so many for the team. Okay. And so she's done this one. She's done Jody Hildebrandt. You Are Not Enough. She's done Barry Cox books, his book. She's done quite a few. Melanie Gibbs. I know, right? So, like I said, she takes a bunch for the team, and she's so good with her words. Hence the name Wordwise. So go check her out, sub to her. I love her. We love her here. So look, Donna has you the link right there, which is actually, sis, you should have been a detective. But thank you, Donna. Appreciate that. All right. So it's just interesting, y'all. I think it is. So this is the fun of digging, right? Allegedly. Let's see. Hold on, they're changing buttons down here. Okay. Actually, they didn't change them again, but I'm old, so there's that. And I also, oh, man, let me do this one first. And because this is a precursor, that's what I'll do. This is a precursor into kind of what we've been digging into. And this is David Hamblin nowadays, right here in this corner, in the middle, at the top, right here. And this is one of his, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a mess. In this video, David Hamblin speaks out about his journey discovering the phenomenon of SRA in the mid 90s for himself, studying it and his process of learning how to stand up to it, including candidly discussing the mistakes that he made. Not really. For nearly 30 years, David has been dedicated to creating a healing path with the Native American healing tradition of how to transform out to the torment of SRA. This is written really weird. This video reveals a deeper perspective showing the animus behind his legal charges, which led to the furor, oh my gosh, of the false narrative online. Don't you know? Wait till you hear what he's got to say about all of us. We pray that as you watch this video, please don't pray. You will get a deep sense of who David really is, and you will. And oh yeah. So let me turn the captions on and let's have fun. We're just gonna put that where the blur is, but he's gonna be talking. Mainly, I skipped it over to 11 minutes, which is about where he starts. This is his girlfriend. Oh, what's her name? Sabrina, I think. I don't know. She doesn't look too fresh today, but and this was what, July 10th, 2025. I just found it on Goel's Substack yesterday. Archaeology of the Soul is the channel name. 18 subscribers. Let's keep it like that.
Difficult. And I
Okay. We're just going to listen.
I won't say I
Let me speed it up.
hesitated, but it gave me pause that Cody joined us today. He doesn't know us very well, but so what I'm going to say next is something about my life that people who are in the former group are aware of it, and we spoke about it then. But
I'll be in the bubble.
I've been through a lot, and in the
David Hamblin.
In the 90s, I was working as a psychologist in private practice and came across a phenomenon that I realized was really serious. And I realized it was a spiritual phenomenon. It wasn't, as a believer in the divine, I've always believed in the reality of the spirit world. And in working with a number of people, I discovered that there was something really hard going on, something that was overtaking them. And the person that came to me for help was being attacked so vigorously over time that they were being lost, that the original person that was seeking help was going away.
Are they going dark?
And I asked for help from the divine and got a really solid answer and support in studying what was going on, and ended up working with a number of people who had experienced satanic ritual abuse, which is the acronym for that is SRA.
Right.
And it is a phenomenon.
Is
and
it?
It's one that psychologists don't like to work with, and they don't want to believe it's real. And
he was a
a
psychologist.
lot of religions don't want to believe it's real.
And he was Mormon.
I come from the Mormon faith, which came down on the side of not believing it's real, even though it's talked about extensively in our scriptures and
Yes,
exposed in our scriptures. And so it's hard to wrap my mind around how it could be denied, but the actual phenomenon itself is
this is
scary.
fascinating to me.
And I worked with people for years and grew in my understanding of what was going on and how to counter it. And the fundamental issue is that when children are raped, they go through a shock that opens them up spiritually to being programmed. And
so I remember learning that about, this is David's parts theory. I don't know if y'all have heard me talk about it before. Not that I'm well versed in it, I'm not. But what he just explained is exactly what the parts theory is, where you actually split the mind of a child. Okay. Because whenever something like that happens to a child, this is why they're doing it. It's one of the reasons, not just because of pedophilia. It is also, it's like mainly for control. Okay. It's so crazy. I know. I was like, what? How can it not be? No, I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying it's not all about just being attracted to a child. It's so inverted as well. And that's why we have this whole inversion of like some of these men in the church that I've read about. Some of them are leaders, yeah, quorum of the 12 or 70s in the church. And one of them said that allegedly said that his granddaughter, who was 6 years old, couldn't come over anymore because she was coming on to him. make sense. It does not. So whatever, it's just this inversion, and it's so scary because it's like, oh, okay, one person, yeah, go get you some help now. um Go send them to their own island or something. But this is a bunch of people, and they are elites in this pillar. I don't know what else to call it, in this system. And it's all about bloodline and these elites, y'all. It's crazy. The royal bloodline. And this goes to what Chad and Lori were doing. Okay. It does. Unfortunately. But I'm like a dog with a bone. I can't help it. All right, let me start this again. I'm gonna back it up so you can hear that part again. This is basically why so whenever they R word a child, um, they it causes the child, because the child has no basis for that, and it causes the child to dissociate. Whenever one dissociates, that causes a split in the brain. From my understanding, it creates a split. And so this is what makes what used to be called multiple personality disorder, but is now called dissociative identity disorder. Still, you have these different parts that they can call up. Like he's Hamblin here. He's accused by his daughters of running a prostitution ring where he was training. They allege that he was training his daughters, which he will admit kinda in a little bit, to service other elite members who are in this LDS Church of Satan, or this Church of Satan, or the group, or the CS. Okay. It's like this faction within Mormonism, but it seems to be elite, and it seems to go all the way up to all the big boys and all the big players. And it's crazy. But here we are. So here we are. All right, here we go.
And the fundamental issue is that when children are raped, they go through a shock that opens them up spiritually to being programmed. And so
Yeah.
almost all SRA memories include being raped as a child. And there's a lot of shame involved in that for survivors, because they are bound in something so negative about their sexuality that they don't even want to exist in that place. They give up on life.
It's also generational. And I believe this is what happened to Lori, Alex, Melanie, Boudreaux. I mean, it's happened in my family, like like I was molested, this happens so much. And it's not just, it's generational too. And it's gross, and it's the one thing that can be stopped, like, anyway. So if we can just educate people who are inside the church, to, instead of, if something horrible like this happens to their child or to them, let's educate them and teach them that they should call the police first. I mean, if that's taking that responsibility away from the church, that's like, if we educate them that they don't have to go to the church in order to forgive the sin of the offender, how that cycle goes. We see it. That's why we're here today. But let's educate them and try to, teach them and show them that you reach out to the police, and it takes that responsibility off the bishop. They don't have that in their hands anymore. Now, getting it handled in the police force, that's a whole nother story, but here we are. And anyways, I don't know. I'm not an expert or a professional. I've heard a few survivors talk about that. And that's one way we can take it away from them and not give them the decision to ignore your child or ignore you. And you just go over their head. They don't need to mess with the laws of man. They're about temporal. So just saying.
And so to get those memories back is tough. And
So they call this
at the time I
programmed,
had a
you know.
limited skill set and a limited set of tools. And a number of things happened that led me down the path of being sexual with some of my clients. And it actually helped with a couple, and it didn't work with a couple of people. Not so much. And part of that is because honestly, I I thought I could do it, and it required more of me than I could do,
Yeah,
and
I'll back it up. I heard it
and
too.
acquire people.
So he's basically, I
Not so
mean,
much. And part of
if if you've been researching these people like I have with me all these years or whatever, then I mean, do you feel like he's maybe setting this up for victimhood? Because spoiler alert. But yeah, I'm gonna back that up, Pammy, because he's trying to talk to his panel here, who seek him out. And I mean, I'm just gonna be frank with you. Like, David is not Native American. And so, in my opinion, David found another loophole in which to exploit, and it is of the Native American people who, just so, I mean, this is my opinion, allegedly, just so he can go and consume peyote and use it in his healing ceremonies, and maybe you'll see at the end, towards the end of this clip. So, what it's like a shameless ex-Mormon plug, I'll say. Anyways,
path of being sexual with some of my clients.
let me back it up.
Set of tools, and a number of things happened that led me down the path of being sexual with some of my clients.
Ah.
And it actually helped with a couple, and it didn't work with a couple of people. Not so much. And part of that is because honestly, I thought I could do it, and it required more of me than I could do, and I was triggered to hell by it too.
Triggered.
And during that time, when it felt like all was
I'm
lost,
sped up too.
I was
Might have to speed
invited
up
to
more.
a Native American church peyote sacrament meeting.
And he's like, I'm in.
And it was a revelation to me. And I'll tell you that peyote
Thank you, KJ.
is a sacred herb.
Oh my gosh.
And saved my life, really. And it gave me the power to go on despite my mistakes. And they are mistakes and worse than mistakes. And but I did what I did because of compassion. And it wasn't for me, it wasn't like a sexual thing. If you saw the whole circumstances, you'd see what I mean. And I had a pretty wife at the time, and she met my needs and all that.
He's talking about Rosie right now. Thank you, KJ. Thank you so much. Oh my God. I miss your face though. Okay. I do. Like, yeah, thank you. Love you. Miss you. I hope you're doing well. Hope Mr. Wayne's hope everybody's doing well in Tennessee. Miss y'all. Anyways, he's going to say some pretty, in my opinion, narcissistic things and some pretty warped things, because I've read the same documents that are written about him, basically. And I trust his daughters more than I trust him. I don't know why. Call me crazy, but that's just me. And it's like he's trying to do some kind of lip service here as to how to spin this in order for them to give him sympathy and to, again, be so he can be the victim. Okay. He's the victim of us being angry and overzealous and whatever. It's kind of fun. Oh my gosh. I'm having like avalanche.
So having done that, I was told that
thank you
that it would come out.
Oh God. Dang.
And by the
Thank
divine,
you.
and it did. And I surrendered my license and was
But let's stop here. Thank you again, KJ. Oh my God, lady. I went to click off and I clicked another one. Thank you. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Um, why I stopped it was because he just said that's why he gave up his license. And so chew on that for a second. I'll go pull the clip up why he gave up his license. Okay.
So having done that, I was told that it would come out
Thank you.
and by the divine, and it did. And I surrendered my license and was permitted to surrender my license.
Permitted.
And that was
Wait.
the end of my career and that was the end of my career as a psychologist. It was the
He
end
was
of my
permitted, he said.
marriage, really. It was the end of my
Life. Sounds like it.
I built up a little financial, I had some problems.
No, his mom, yeah, property. His mom was loaded. Family, familial, generational. So, that's not built up. That's just called inheritance, in my opinion.
Properties and stuff, and I lost
Let
everything.
me
Anyway,
back it up.
I built up a little financial,
Oh my God,
I
KJ,
had some
what the
properties and
hell?
stuff, and I lost everything.
Hold on.
Anyway,
We gotta stop. We have to get this out. Holy shit. Okay, lady. You're freaking me out. Not in a bad way. I just don't know how to react because I'm like, what? Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I don't know what to do. Thank you. I didn't want to send it back to you. Be like, here. Oh, it's like going to the casino, except I don't gamble. I'm just kidding. Oh man. Thank you, KJ and Mr. Wayne. Love always wins. Wedding? I know, right? I know. Tell him. Wedding and Jason, this one is for you. Jason is the one for you. I know. I know. I know. We have no more trials. Well, I hope we have one more, and I hope it's Melanie Dan Pulowski, if I'm being honest. But that's nothing. We're pros by now. Oh my gosh, KJ. Oh my gosh, lady. Thank you. Yeah. My God. I don't know what to do, y'all. Thank you. Let's all thank KJ. Whew. Man. Thank you. I don't know what to say, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know. Oh my gosh. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Okay, and I keep trying to shut my phone off, but yeah, my overload. Brain overload, brain overload. Thank you again. I don't know how to blur it. I can't. Like I don't know how you do that. It would have to be after I process the video. Unless you know how. Do you know some kind of way? I'm here to learn. I can go make something on Canva real quick and do it. Yeah, I can. All right, let me get this thing going. I'm catching more things than I did yesterday.
I built up a little financial, I had some properties and stuff, and I lost everything. Anyway,
Hmm.
and the worst thing was that I became estranged from my children. And it was really done deliberately. My ex-wife, not being able to get proof that I was sleeping with my clients, I was careful about that. And she approached
What
a
the
number
hell?
of them. Ended up creating with her father the false narrative that I myself was a
Chewing her nails.
Satanist, when in fact I was standing up against that, however misguidedly. And in
Wait.
fact,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
and
So, I mean, David Hamlin is accused of being a Satanist and doing some very satanistic things to his daughters. And not just his daughters, his clients, his sisters, just all the people around him, basically. Like, I fear for these people right now. Okay. I need to contact Kate Talley and see if she'll come on. She had inboxed me one time, but it was right around all the trials, and I need to have her on. She used to, um, her husband was his name was Eldon, and he's like a business partner with this guy. So I would love to have her on and just get her take on Lori and Chad also, just kind of see about that. All right, let me
Ended up
push play.
creating with her father
Okay,
the
back it up
with
again.
my clients. I was careful about that.
He was careful about that.
And she approached a number of them. Ended up creating with her father the narrative, the false narrative that I myself was a Satanist, when in fact I was standing.
So with his father-in-law, with Lloyd Anderson, Dr. Lloyd Anderson, this is Dr. Hamblin, right? Well, so what he's saying is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to grab the transcript, y'all, because this is bothering me. Let me push play so I
up
can get
against
there.
that, however misguidedly.
Okay. So he says, uh, ended up creating with her father the narrative. So with her father, he created a narrative, the false narrative that I myself was a Satanist, when in fact I was standing up against that. Whoa. Time suck, right? That just, I'm like, this is so warped. It's like Lori saying that she loves children and has never hurt her children. She loves everybody. That's this shit, y'all. It's crazy. It's like some opposite world or something. It's like no V8 juice whatsoever. All right, let's just one more time.
And she approached a number of them.
Don't mind if I keep it like this?
Ended up creating with her father the narrative, the false narrative that I myself was a Satanist, when in fact I was standing up against that.
And these people are buying it. That's the bad part.
And I learned a lot, but
Thank
came
you,
out of the
KK.
experience devastated. And because of the medicine, peyote, I was
Peyote.
able to
The
keep
drugs.
going and rebuild my life.
Yeah.
And
Business.
I won't go into all the details. We're talking about 30 years or more. But
that's how long it's been.
In 2000, and I think it was the end of 2013,
I'm gonna
my
smoke.
daughter, who had grown up, had called me on the phone crying and said she wanted a relationship, but she needed me to apologize for raping her as a child. Well, I have no memory of doing that, and I wouldn't do that. I would never do that.
Okay.
I also discovered, however, that people who go through SRA have a part of them that's split off, who is programmed to do things that the host, the conscious me, or anyone else.
Me. And I mean, don't forget that this is what he is. He went to school for this. He's doctor, or he was, till he was given permission to hand over his license to Doppel. Okay. This is the male version of Jody Hildebrandt, in my opinion. Like, I'm waiting to find out where in Tucson, Arizona, because Jody is from Tucson, Arizona. I've been waiting for this, and I mean, I don't know really where to go look to find it, and I don't have all the access and all the subscriptions to uh, the genealogy stuff anymore. I did at first, but I don't anymore. I'm not paying for all that crap, and so there's too many people. We can all work together. Like, I need help, but just to see where and if. I believe this is just a big hunch, a gut feeling that I have, that I feel like Jody's family and the Hamblin family were at the same ward in Tucson, Arizona at one point in time. Because holy hell. Jody comes from a family of esteemed Mormons, just living the good life, living their best lives. And I mean, we're going to learn more about that tomorrow. Hopefully we can have a watch party to watch the new documentary that's coming out tomorrow. I forget the name of it, but it's more about Jody Hildebrandt. I watched the Mormon Stories podcast promotion of it. There's going to be a couple ex-Mormons, Mormons and stuff that are a part of it. Dr. John and Lauren. Okay, we have Jordan and McKay and Dr. John DeLynn. Oh my gosh, Hanks, Julie Hanks. She's a doctor too. But and a few others, but it's going to be 2 episodes tomorrow night and then 2 I think every week. I don't know. I have to go back and listen to it. But anyways, we'll figure it out. And it drops tomorrow night. So yeah, join me. Let's watch it together. But I'm telling you, I don't know where, but I feel like, because I mean, if you're Mormon, you're going to live in the same ward. You're going to, not the same ward, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's Mormons meet other Mormons at the board, like that's the community. And then I don't know. It's just a gut feeling I have. And I'm just like, I could just see these families just going at it. And Gordon Bowen. Anyways, I digress.
Who's been through this.
He's the host.
Is maybe unaware of. So it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. All I can say is that I don't have memories of doing that and wouldn't do that. I'd rather die than do that. It was a pretext call. And in the call, I followed the 4 steps of healing, and I owned, I told her that I was sorry. I said, this is not my experience. I have no memory of ever doing anything like that. But I'm going to apologize and say I'm sorry for raping you.
Why?
And I was loving and acknowledging of her. We talked on the phone for like 45 minutes or so. And then the police showed up and arrested me. So it's referred to as a pretext call.
Yeah, it's called a preemptive strike.
And just
That's what it's about to be.
That's been put out on the internet. And Sabrina's listened to the call that the fellow put out, and she believes it's edited to make me look negative and stupid.
Well, I listened to the original call, and then the one with David, and the one that's been put out online is very much edited. Not just taking out names or anything like that, but taking out
context,
like the positive love that was coming through David, and then taking out certain aspects of
raped her.
The person putting the call out is really
what do they not get?
To paint David in this particular light, and it's very much edited compared.
Does she not hear herself? Like, I don't care what the hell, the positive love and whatever. He just said, I'm sorry for raping you. I can't say that someone in my body didn't do it or whatever. I don't know. I'm looking for the clip right now. But look, let's try this one. I haven't been able to look at it yet. Suspect arrested. Well, let's go to this one first. This was arrest made in Utah County, ritualistic sex abuse investigation. This was September 28, 2022. This is what caught my attention back in 2022 I'm like, and it's not this particular headline, but it's one, and it said, ritualistic child abuse case with, and then, I mean, it didn't say it in the headline, but it said with cannibalism and everything. And, Tylee and JJ had just been found in 2020, June 2020. I mean, everything was still fresh. And I mean, I'm looking for answers because this is religious based. Okay. Not any kind of my religion, but there are these people who practice this, and he's trying to deny that he is one. So was taken into custody Wednesday morning, 18 counts of SA, 66 at that time. Yeah. So let's just, it's a short one.
Studio with an update.
Yeah, Max, this is David Hamblin. He's a former therapist, and that's his previous mugshot from back when he was charged with 18 counts of sex abuse in 2012. We first found out about this new case from victims in February. That's how long we've been accumulating information on this man. And the first thing we did was look back at that old case, trying to figure out why those charges were dropped by the Utah County Attorney's Office. You can read it right there on your screen. Even though Hamblin confessed to raping one of his young female family members in an undercover phone call recorded by the Provo Police Department, Hamblin was not the only suspect back then. And even though he was arrested this morning,
That's
we
Brett
know
Booth.
he's not the only suspect now. On your screen, in April, we started interviewing victims for the first time on camera. That's Brett Bluth, one of Hamblin's former patients. He says he used to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he was recommended to Dr. Hamblin for conversion therapy.
Do y'all hear what the same rhetoric that we were hearing about Jody, Maurice Harker, and there's one, I remember a therapist named something Owens. I mean, this, and they're just a drop in the bucket. That's just a couple names I remember, but it's the same thing. It's like, and Adam Steed talked about this, about how his bishop recommended him and his wife, remember, to go talk to Jody Hildebrandt. And here we are. It's not just conversion. It's like, here, let me just send you, and we'll even pay for it. The church sometimes even pays for it. And we got, sorry, my voice. We even got that confirmation from Jesse Hildebrandt, who said that they were doing their aunt's books and writing receipts and stuff, you know? So, I mean, I remember when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, it's like an MLM of abuse, or, you know, to recommend them from the church to the hands of an abuser, an alleged abuser. And then you break them. What is, like, it's, I don't know. It's like the Latter-day Aints, y'all. And I hate that. I hate that for the world we live in. You know, I hate that is what it is. Or I know it's not the members. I'm not blanketing all the members, but it is definitely from the top. It's from the top. And I've studied this so hard for the last over 6 years now, and didn't even know that. I mean, I wasn't looking at the church like an enemy. I was looking at the church like, oh, okay, oh, Christian people, but you're hiding behind Jesus. So that it didn't, their actions didn't match with their words, you know? And that's a big thing for me. When that doesn't work together, I'm like, wait, what? I hear you talking about all these things, but I don't see it in your action. So when you have Lori, you know, Jason Mao, Chad, and they're all hiding behind quote unquote Jesus, or the Jesus name, whatever, that to me was like the most bold, scary idea. To even, it flipped me, you know, my cognitive dissonance was like, what? Like I don't know. I'm just like, I couldn't imagine how people can hide behind the guise of something that's supposed to be holy and be doing, and I mean, they appear normal, they talk normal, they talk really well actually, but they don't walk the walk. And that's proof time and time and time again. So at least that's my experience, you know. I remember seeing that commercial, y'all. I've told y'all so many times when I was a kid. The only thing I knew about the Mormon church was this commercial that would come on Saturday mornings during cartoons. Okay. Remember Saturday mornings cartoons? And there was this commercial that came on, and it's a compassion, pass it along. And that's what I remember. And that's it. And that does not, they just spent money in branding and reaching our young little minds, you know, just trying to infiltrate, monetize, proselytize, and monetize, you know. I don't know. It's wild, but here we are. But so, I mean, when you start to understand the organization also, I'm not going to say you, I started to understand why Chad and Lori acted the way that they do, or did and do, you know, like, why do these people act and do what they do? It's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. Okay. Sorry to use simple terms, but monkey see, monkey do, you know, you're either going to learn it. It's a learned behavior for sure. I believe what Chad and Lori did. It's definitely, you know, taught to them. And so I'm like, it can either be home life, or church, because I mean, the church is the common denominator between Lori and Chad, period. But then there's home too. And then when those, like the Coxes, and the Daybells, they're maybe converts, but either way, they've been in the church for a pretty long time. My uncle was never going to meet Lori's standard either, because he wasn't I'm going to say spiritually equal, but that's bullshit, because spiritually, no, he's just not a 7th-generation Mormon. Okay. But then don't marry him, dumbass. Like, what are you doing? Joe Ryan, same thing. Don't marry him then, dumbass. Quit trying to, Tylee had told her friend, and this is in the police report, that her mom just wanted to fix everybody. She wanted to fix the nanny. She wanted to save everybody. Do you see what I'm saying? There's this whole, it is a thing. Okay. I believe it's a thing. The savior complex, the God complex, the hero complex, but they can't save themselves. They can't even see where they are not even understanding themselves, like, don't come fix me, sweep around your porch is what Mama always told me. And I think that applies here too. Like, don't come try to help me or fix me or pray for me or whatever it is that you're trying to do when you're inverted yourself, like, go work on you, boo. Get your oxygen mask on first and then come talk, not being ugly. It's just, when you're raised in a system where you're let's say you're born into it, like a lot of these people are, born into this religion, this belief system, this culture, and you're told from the birth up, okay, that you are basically God's gift to humanity. You have the truth. You belong to the one true church. You have the one true gospel, and it's your mission. You go on a mission. You pay for your own mission even, okay, to go and proselytize so they can monetize. But you're going out there and you're trying to teach the good word of the gospel, teach about Jesus Christ, and bring people into your idea of Jesus Christ. Okay. That's their idea. And everybody has their own idea, it looks different for everybody, but it's like, and it's like a proof, like having to prove your worth. That's how a Mormon gains entrance into heaven, is to prove their worth. And that's why they are always going at it. I mean, they oh my God, take a break, y'all. Like, they're so busy all the time, but they really do get a lot of shit done, man. I really do admire them for that. But I'm also, at what cost? Like, it costs, because wherever you're not nurturing in your life, whatever, you're not paying attention to something else, something else in your life is being neglected. Maybe yourself, I don't know. But it's just, when you're taught that you have the one true word, the one true gospel, and that you're trying to do what? Baptize them in your church, save them, get them saved into your idea of Jesus. Okay. And so when you're given that, you never have any kind of diversity, and you're in an echo chamber, that's all you get. So they think they're really God's gift, and then they can become gods on top of that. Imagine the ego trips that are happening as we speak. I mean, it's not a far fetch whenever I think about Lori being told in the temple, taking part of a ceremony, and then she becomes exalted. Well, no shit. And this is the product of that. In my opinion, I believe that's what happened. I've done my research in this area. I just, I don't know how to prove it. Anyways, let me push play.
Something he wanted at the time, but he says those sessions took a turn.
Hypnosis was a big part of it. He told me that from the very beginning, that was his main technique. Dr. would say, do you want to be healed of your homosexuality or not? And the answer was yes.
Do you think this time it will be different?
I do think it will be different. I think in part because I have some information that can connect some dots.
Then in May, the Utah County Sheriff's Office spoke about this case for the first time publicly, announcing it was opening a ritualistic child sex abuse investigation spanning 3 counties, Utah County, San Pete County, and Juab County between the years 1990 and 2010.
Guess where Chad is from? Okay. He lived in Provo for a while. Him and Tammy. He's from here. Okay. This is crazy, y'all. I'm telling you.
Did not name any suspects, but the next day, Utah County Attorney David Levitt held a press conference naming himself and describing his link to Hamblin.
And then saying, David, it's now infamous, this press conference that David Levitt called on his own and then named himself and then blamed everybody, mainly the sheriff, who was, because there was a campaign he was running for, whatever, Utah County prosecuting attorney is what he was. I don't know if that's what he was running for. I don't know. He ran against Sean Reyes at one point. His brother, David Levitt's brother, is Michael. I think that's his name, Michael Levitt. Yeah, he was the governor of Utah. And now he's an ambassador for a couple of countries, just a little handful. No.
This therapist was my elders quorum president in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was my neighbor. I had a family connection.
Yep.
And I testified at that divorce hearing.
He testified at David Hamblin and Rosie Hamblin's divorce hearing. That's what he just said.
And I testified at that divorce hearing. I'm well aware of who the therapist is, and I'm well aware of many of the players here.
Talking about David, the therapist, and the many players. I don't know if he's talking about the alleged 144 other named people by the Hamblin daughters.
Levitt said the investigation was politically motivated, but even after he lost his bid for re-election, the investigation into Hamblin and others continued. And all of that, of course, leads us back to today, this morning, with what the Utah County Sheriff's Office describes as its first arrest. We expect they will have a press conference this afternoon, and we will be live from Utah County with that update when it happens. For now, in studio, Adam Herbetz, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Oh. Okay, so, man. All right. Well, I know it is a bit much. Definitely take care of yourself. I'm not a very good explainer either, so. Okay, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, let's just go ahead and
on suspicion of ritualistic child sex abuse and his ties to Utah County Attorney David Levitt, who will not be allowed to prosecute this case.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbetz has tonight's update.
Well, there are a number of reasons why the Utah County Attorney's Office might have a conflict of interest, not just because Levitt named himself as a suspect earlier this year. He's also given multiple statements about his relationship with Hamblin and some of the alleged victims. As you're about to see, the nature of those statements have changed over the past 2 years.
Would you mind riding in the back of a police car?
Men and women allege David Hamblin used positions of power as a father, a therapist, a neighbor, and as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to ritualistically abuse children. He was arrested Wednesday morning, but investigators say he probably won't be the only one.
I have nothing to hide.
Until Hamblin's arrest, Fox 13 News chose not to identify any of the subjects of the investigation, but that did not stop Utah County Attorney David Levitt from outing himself as a suspect in June and describing his relationship with Hamblin.
I prosecuted the therapist in Juab County for poaching a deer. He poached a deer to use for ritualistic purposes.
That ain't cool, man.
This therapist was my elders quorum president in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was my neighbor. I had a family connection.
During that same press conference, Levitt described his accuser as tragically mentally ill. She's one of the same women who accused Hamblin and others.
That's his
Shame
daughter.
on you for doing that. It's uncalled for. He said tragically mentally ill woman 5 times.
That's
To
what they
attack
do.
their mental health status as a way to discredit them, and it was clear that that's what he was doing, and that's just not okay.
There is no organized ring of abuse. It was debunked.
But
Debunked.
watch and listen. More than 2
This is crazy. And I hate when they use the word debunked. What's the other one? I'll think of it.
years before that press conference,
Unfounded.
Levitt sat down for a different
Baseless.
interview and was asked if he thought ritualistic sex abuse was real. He went on to describe Hamblin and his own accuser, calling her a victim.
Do I think that occurs? Yeah, I think it occurs. I know some victims of it. I know some victims of it. I was not in a position to prosecute it. Who was into Native American stuff, had killed deer and get deer hearts and drink their blood and drink the deer's blood.
At the time, Levitt was under investigation by Homeland Security. There's 2 Davids, okay? This David Levitt was the key, like he was the prime suspect in a human trafficking investigation. Okay, and here he's about to kind of spill it big time, and then tell you how they program little ones to do their bidding, basically. Clips are now evidence in that case. We want to warn you, some of them are very graphic.
How do you train a dog to roll over when it's time to roll over? You do it by giving a reward and repetition. If a man wants to program some little girl to give immoral sex anytime he wants to, you start young and give rewards. It's.
He laughs.
Unfortunately, I've never. It's the same way you help a child learn how to make their bed.
Yesterday, after Hamblin's arrest, we asked David Levitt through his spokesperson for a comment. We were told, no, he does not comment on pending cases. Apparently, that did not stop him in June. Reporting in studio tonight, Adam Herbets, Fox 18 News.
Okay, I just pulled this up so you can see where this is generational. Okay, this is just, I put these on there, but this is Robert Lee Hamblin. This is David's father, and he was it says Professor R.L. Hamblin named to New Washington U Post. Professor Robert L. Hamblin will succeed Albert F. Wesson as the chairman of the Department of Sociology Anthropology at Washington University. Wesson has been granted leave to teach in England. A graduate of the University of Utah, Hamblin also studied at the University of Michigan. Oh yeah. Before joining Washington University faculty in 1957, he taught in the Samoan Islands and at Iowa State University. He became a professor in 1964 and has participated in, And so this middle one here, it says Hamblin's proposals involved behavior modification in subjects, just like what old boy just told you, David Levitt. Repetition and reward, okay? Because if you go over here to the right-hand side, let's see, the Opportunity House, about midways, let's see, right around here. I'm pointing my mouse to it. In recent weeks, Carson said HUD, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and the Office of Economic Opportunity all denied specific knowledge of the application's whereabouts. The Social Exchange Laboratories at the university requested $634,354 to establish Opportunity House in the Yeatman district of North St. Louis, which I just learned yesterday that the government had put some thick fog over there with some, oh my God, I can't think of the chemical that was in it, but like back in the 60s or 70s, I forget. Anyways, and it was a Black community, and like, what is going on? I mean, so here he is. Here's David's dad, and he's working as a sociologist, and he's working in behavior modification and people to program them. Okay. The Opportunity House. He was given grants by the government, our government, to basically train children, modify their behavior, just like what David Levitt just told us. You do it by repetition and reward. And that's what this is. Anyways, let's see. Let me finish reading that. I'm trying to see. Okay, okay, so here, I'll read the middle one. Hamblin's proposals involved behavior modification and subjects. I don't know what that says. Democratic Representative Frank M. Karsten publicly opposed a $634,000 grant to Washington University for an Opportunity House, which would house 60 low-income families for 10-week terms. Low income, right? Vulnerable. They go after the damn vulnerable. Always. It seems 30 researchers. I'm sorry, back up here. I'm too close to the screen. Okay. 30 researchers and residents would supervise the program, which would dole out reward points to children for brushing their teeth and, quote, other family tasks, unquote, which would in turn reduce their parents' rent. So if you go brush your teeth like a good little kid, okay, you'll have money off of your rent for your family. It's crazy. Okay, Carson objected and whatever, that he had taught his children to do their own hygiene task without federal input and supervision. And he questioned the wisdom or whatever, suspending $634,000 on the project. I'm sorry, I didn't plan on pulling this up, but while we're here, might as well. And then here's this other story. I don't know if it's the same thing.
Arrested its first suspect in a ritualistic child sex abuse investigation, but they think there will be more arrests. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbetz has been following this story all year. He joins us live in studio with this evening's update. Adam.
Yeah, Bob, we have been accumulating information on this man, David Hamblin, since February. Today, the sheriff's office confirmed its investigation does not stop with his arrest. There are still multiple victims, multiple suspects. Each story is different, but the common thread is that the allegations are very disturbing.
Let's look.
The first time we heard David Hamblin's name was in 2012, charged with 18 felony counts of sex abuse against multiple family members. This video shows Provo police spending months conducting interviews. Then they recorded an undercover phone call where he confessed, "I am sorry for raping you. I'm not saying somebody in my body didn't do it." The Utah County Attorney's Office dropped the charges.
Do you think this time it will be different?
I do think it will be different.
Brett Bluth, another victim, says David Hamblin was his therapist, recommended to him by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to cure him of his homosexuality.
Did you feel like being gay was a disease?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had spent my entire life viewing that as a disease. Hypnosis was a big part of it. He told me that from the very beginning, that was his main technique.
He says Hamblin spent hours each week trying to convince him he was abused in his childhood, that he has multiple personality disorder.
I went home from those sessions thinking that I had hurt other people.
And that the only way to get rid of it would be to reenact the trauma with a righteous man.
He put his arm on the back of the sofa, and he put his other arm back here, and he waited. And we sat there in silence as I did nothing.
Years later, he confronted Dr. Hamblin and told him to turn over his license to the state. Hamblin is no longer a licensed therapist, but often conducts therapeutic peyote ceremonies through his church.
And I think that the emotional portion, the emotional damage he caused, for me was far more damaging than the actual sexual abuse.
And I can sense the fear in the voice of some of these people who have called us.
Sergeant Spencer Cannon with the Utah County Sheriff's Office says investigators have listened to more than 130 tips, most of them credible.
A lot.
But he could not say how many mentioned Hamblin. The case has been open since April of last year, but this year, also in April, a new female victim came forward, helping the sheriff's office get to the point where they felt ready to make an arrest.
Do you expect there will be additional arrests?
We do at some point, yes. Yeah, this is it's very active. We have victims we're still working with, and so we anticipate that we'll have other arrests to make in this case.
Even though Hamblin was arrested in Utah County, the Juab County Attorney's Office will be handling this case. You might remember for the past few months, we've explained how Utah County Attorney David Levitt named himself as a suspect and described his link to Hamblin. Tomorrow, we'll have more on that part of the story. But for now, live in studio, Adam Herbets, Fox.
Okay. All right. Now let's get back on track. I went way off, but it's all one and of the same. Okay. It is. You'll see. All right. So I kind of need to move on past Hamblin. Okay. But I will share. Let me go grab the link or maybe we'll go over it another day too. Let me grab the link to that video we were watching earlier of Hamblin. You know, the long-haired hippie dude that was in denial. Anyways, let me just put Hamblin so it'll identify it. Okay, so now that is in the chat. So even for future people on replay crew, it's there for you too. If you just replay the live chat, it'll be in there. Okay, so what I am going to do, allegedly, is go to We Are the People podcast, which is here. Let me pull my screen down. Okay. All right, let me get back over there. I have a lot of windows open, a lot of tabs open here. I remember seeing this exact news story. I mean, of course, it had already came out. It was before my time. But anyways, so I thought this was a new lawsuit, y'all. Yes, like all the way up till about last night. And I was like, wait a minute. No, this is a 2018 lawsuit. And it's like there was that window of time, you know, when all the people filed lawsuits against Diddy, and remember the women came forward and sued Tim Ballard. And it's like this little window of time, I want to say, where so I don't know this verbatim, so just do your research on this for sure. And please, you know, let me know in the comments, okay? But it's like an extension of the statutes of limitations. So it's like, so it's so hard to get a lawsuit going, right? And then whenever you keep being discredited constantly over and over and over again, you know, we've debunked it, it's baseless, that was 11 decades ago, you know, get forgive and forget, just all the things. Okay, it's like you have all the powers that be working against you constantly. And then not only that, but it seems like this it's like the flying monkeys, you know. I don't understand it. So it's like every member of the church will be like, why are you going against the church, you know? And so then they gang up on the victim or the alleged victim. I mean, I've gone through it, and I mean, I'm not even Mormon, but I'm just saying, like, they shun you big time. I mean, again, I'm not Mormon, so even better reason to shun me. But I can't imagine being a Mormon and an actual member of the church and claiming abuse and then still getting crapped on by everybody. So power to them. Anyways, it's going to be 2 news stories back to back, and I'm just going to let them play.
Abuse and LDS Church cover-up allegations now resurfacing again. At least 6 people suing the daughter and son-in-law of Church President Russell M. Nelson.
Jim Stewart looked through decades-old allegations. Jim, there are claims of abuse on kids as young as 1 year old.
That's just one of the allegations in this 79-page suit. The defendants filed a motion to dismiss this thing. They want it thrown out. Their motion is 141 pages. Here it is right here. I read through all of them today, and the defendants, they are going to put up a fight.
Wipe your ass with
The
it.
allegations of sexual abuse stem back to the 1980s, accusing a John and Jane Doe of an LDS Church leader that held touching parties and sexually abused kids as young as 1. The suit claims after the victims came forward, church elder Neal A. Maxwell blessed them and told them to forgive and forget.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm only pausing to let y'all know that this guy right here on the screen is the one that always, that told these alleged victims to forgive and forget. Gave him a blessing, said forgive and forget. And he's also the apostolic friend that Spencer, aka Thom Harrison, writes about in his Visions of Glory book that I'm holding in my hands, that Lori was holding under her leg. It was also on the nightstand where my uncle was murdered. It was also in their belongings whenever they had their vehicle towed while in Kauai, when they were sitting by the pool, living their best lives, hiding in the cavity of a Hawaiian rock, I guess, while the kids are laying dead in Chad Daybell's backyard. But, Thom alleges that he's friends with Elder. We're going to call him Elder Maxwell. Okay. But he died. And then Thom published Visions of Glory, the book. So I'm just saying, how close are we getting here?
The suit claims
And this ain't even it. I just wanted to show you a picture of him.
claims if church leaders had taken further action with
Let me back
police,
it
the parties, and sexually abused kids as young as 1. The suit claims after the victims came forward, church elder Neal A. Maxwell blessed them and told them to forgive and forget. The suit claims if church leaders had taken further action with police, the abuse might not have happened. But it wasn't until court records to dismiss the suit filed Wednesday in federal court show that the John and Jane Doe defendants are actually church president Russell M. Nelson's daughter, Brenda Miles, and her husband, Richard. In their dismissal motion, the Miles deny all allegations. They claim the victims only came forward after meeting with a psychologist alleged to be at the center of a satanic ritual scare back in the 1980s. The LDS Church was not named as a defendant in the suit, but because it involves the daughter and son-in-law of President Nelson, the church sent a statement saying, in part, these allegations of interference or cover-up are baseless and offensive. Law enforcement investigated this matter in the 1980s and took no action against the church or its leaders.
So I asked the attorney for the plaintiffs why file this now, and he responded by saying because these alleged victims now have a voice, they want to be believed, and they want justice for living with the shame and pain of what happened to them as children. The defendants go on to say that the statute of limitations has passed, and that is grounds and a basis for this suit to be thrown out. We have put...
And they're like, victory, yes, we won, ha, ha, ha. That's how I picture them, I swear, at this point.
A copy.
Them being the church and the offenders.
Of this claim, this complaint, up on our website, kutv.com, if you would like to see it. It has been fully redacted. Guys, back to you.
6 people known only as John and Jane Doe have filed a lawsuit alleging sexual abuse and a cover-up by prominent people within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Today, some of the alleged victims spoke to Fox 13.
Abused me my whole childhood.
The lawsuit alleges 3 children were abused by their father back in the 1980s.
We were certainly bribed with candy.
It also claims the children were also repeatedly abused.
It's just reminded me that JJ had caffeine in his body, in his little system. He also maybe might have had GHB. I don't know. Just saying. I don't know why that triggered me to say that.
Touching parties that involved Richard and Brenda Miles, the daughter and son-in-law of LDS Church President Russell M. Nelson.
Weren't believed, that they were ostracized, that they were almost treated like lepers.
Fox 13 does not typically name alleged sex abuse victims, but some of the plaintiffs agreed to talk to us on condition we not disclose their identities.
Victims need to be listened and heard and have a voice.
Their mother claims she reported it to police, but they did nothing. The LDS Church also did nothing, she says.
I assumed that the highest leaders in the church would want to help my children heal, that the perpetrators would be put in jail. I was very quickly disillusioned of that.
The mother says she divorced, her husband remarried. That's where Jane Doe 3 claims he abused her and her siblings. Her stepfather committed suicide in 1995.
But if somebody had done the right thing the first time, then the abuse never would have happened, and it was pretty horrific.
The lawsuit accuses the Miles of using their status within the LDS Church to cover up crimes. The lawsuit originally named the Miles under pseudonyms, but their lawyer chose to publicly reveal their identities.
There is no truth to these allegations. The Miles did not abuse these children or anyone else.
Jim Jardine says police investigated this and found nothing. He says police also deny the church influenced the investigation and suggested the alleged victims have false memories.
These allegations were investigated in the 1980s by 3 different law enforcement agencies who found no evidence of any child sex abuse ring in Bountiful and found and filed no charges against my clients.
The plaintiffs insist it did happen and they want justice.
Their lives and comfort and whatever it was not more important than me in my life.
While the lawsuit itself does not name President Nelson, the plaintiff's lawyer suggested he could be added later.
But we believe there'll be additional evidence that we'll have to show that this person, along with other people, worked in tandem with the defendants to basically cover up the crime of the sexual assaults, the sexual abuse.
Now, in a statement, the LDS Church says it handles issues like this with the utmost seriousness. The church says the allegations of interference or cover-up are baseless and offensive, and they say this was investigated in the 1980s with no action taken. Now, the Miles' attorney filed a motion to dismiss within hours of the plaintiff suing. A federal judge will have to decide whether or not this lawsuit goes forward. We have posted both the lawsuit and the motion to dismiss for you to read at fox13now.com. Live in studio, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
And I will tell you, I want to thank the 2 people who are going to be introducing.
So this is Jason Preston and his wife, Alexia, and they've been using their platform to expose. Like, I'm very pleased with, like, I watched this the other night when it came out, and it had about 600 views at that point, and they usually don't pick up that much traction. But these guys really do explain it so well. I know you just saw the news stories and you're like, what? Who? Huh? You know, it's very just fast. If you don't know who's who, I get it. I'm right there with you. I've been there. And so this says August 27, 2025, Jason and Alexia Preston sit down with Justin Riggs, my friend, and advocate Tyler to uncover disturbing allegations of child abuse, cover-ups, and institutional corruption tied to powerful figures in Utah. This episode revisits a lawsuit involving Brenda and Richard Miles, the daughter and son-in-law of LDS President Russell M. Nelson. He is the prophet president right now. He is the tippity top, okay, of that triangular structure. Okay, that resembles an MLM. Okay, so it says the daughter and son-in-law of LDS President Russell M. Nelson, and exposes decades of victim testimony, court documents, and that's all these are, y'all, and sworn affidavits detailing horrific abuse in Bountiful, Utah. So again, trigger warning. I'm going to put a little caution at the bottom of the screen here in a minute, but what I'm going to do is I was trying to get ahead of it, but I guess I didn't. Let's see. Hold on just one second. Hold on. I don't know what keyword to put in. I'm trying to get to the right timestamp so we can kind of bypass a lot of the. Wait, I know what to put in. Okay. Excuse me. Oh. Hold on. Having to zip through them. Well, I guess you can see what I'm doing. Scan. Oh gosh. Okay. Here we go. Dang. All that. So Tyler is he's doing it smart, actually. Tyler is. Well, god dang it. Hold on. Round and round we go. Where we stop, nobody knows. Let me go this way. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna start here. All right. Ooh.
Out to people. There's been several people who are aware of the details of this.
Now, do y'all
And
want the closed captions on there or no? Because they're going to be throwing some documents up there, and I just don't want it to be in the way. Let me know.
I will tell you, quite frankly, nobody wants to talk about it. So I want to, appreciate them for their bravery and their willingness to speak. First off, I want to
take that down.
Welcome Justin Riggs. Justin, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, Justin, you've kind of pulled the lid off this a couple of years ago, and I've been kind of leading the charge on exposing this. And there's a lot that I've learned from you, and I'm just very thankful for you being willing to join us today.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thanks for having me.
And again, in studio, we've had him on here a few times. He's been an incredible whistleblower here in our backyard. You've seen him on several of our shows. We welcome again
Tyler.
Tyler, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, not just with you today, but with one of my heroes and mentors in this subject, Justin, as well. He's who introduced me to many of the elements of this story that we are going to share with you today.
Okay, well, you guys are the pros, and I appreciate all the effort, the work you guys have invested in helping to lay this out in such a professional manner. Tyler, would you mind go ahead and taking the lead here?
Yeah. Just to start, like you mentioned, very few are willing to talk about this, so finding qualified individuals to explain it is hard to come by. And I definitely don't feel like one of those qualified individuals, but Justin definitely is. I can say that I've put hundreds of hours of research into this and chased down many leads. And this is going to be my best effort, and I appreciate your patience and willingness to have us on. So I want to start by diving into the allegations that are brought forth in that lawsuit. And fair warning, trigger warning, there's going to be some graphic testimony of child abuse and strong allegations of abuse and questioning about a cover-up at the highest levels of the LDS Church. So just fair warning. So this is going to give the audience a good high-level view of the allegations and situation. And once I'm finished with this first section, Justin's going to go into his presentation, and he's going to explore some of the key points of the lawsuit, as well as additional information that points to very curious patterns and connections that should evoke some additional curiosity by the audience. Justin's going to be asking some difficult questions and prompting us to consider whether or not this case, which was eventually dismissed without even being heard, had any merits and what this all means to us today. Justin, do you want to give a brief introduction, or maybe we can both do it, of this topic, kind of who the main characters are and why you believe this subject is significant?
He does real good summing it up.
So the case was brought by several plaintiffs from two separate families that claimed to be victimized by a diagnosed pedophile by the name of Bill Karstensen, who by the time this lawsuit was filed had committed suicide. And then Dick and Brenda Miles were the named plaintiffs. And Brenda Miles is the daughter of Russell M. Nelson. And so the basis of the suit was simply that Dick and Brenda Miles had used their power and influence to what would the right way of saying that be? To interfere with the investigation and to leverage their relationships with powerful people inside of the church, like their father and Neal A. Maxwell, to make sure that neither church discipline nor legal consequences were suffered for the alleged abuse that took place.
That's
perfect. Thank you. So again, I'm going to be reading from the actual court documents. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. So feel free to pause and read through if you want to go and into more detail. But basically,
Y'all, he's smart, okay? He's hiding behind that damn thing, and I don't blame him. I'm like, Tyler, you are smart.
Start right here on this first page where we have all of the Jane and John.
It's going to be some really vulgar terminology, okay? This isn't Disneyland. Oh, thank God. wrong thing to say.
On Doe's
Just take care
as
of
the
you,
plaintiffs,
okay?
and then the defendants, Doe male defendant 1 and Doe female defendant 2.
And Tyler, what year was this roughly where all of these alleged activities were happening?
This was in the mid 1980s when these things happened, but this complaint was filed in 2018.
This one
past the statute of limitations.
That's complicated, and I think Justin's going to go into that a little bit. So I'll, leave that question unanswered for now, but I'm sure Justin will get into that later. All right, so reading from these first documents, and feel free to interrupt me anytime you want clarification or have any questions. But basically, this first page here is just explaining who is coming forward. And you've got Jane Does 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as John Does 1 and 2. And they bring this complaint and request for jury trial against defendants Doe 1, male, and Doe female 2.
Love you.
So the Jane Does 1 through 4 are actually children who are now adults from 2 separate families. These are the families of Bill Karstensen with his first wife and Bill Karstensen with his second wife, stepchildren, and biological children. So it's kind of a mix of both. The defendants are, as Justin explained in his introduction,
okay, hold on.
They are Dick.
Y'all, I forgot it. Well, that's the appropriate name for that dude, Dick, huh? I forgot about this. Let's just read through this real quick. This was on Reddit, ex-Mormon subreddit. And it says, and this is 3 years ago, it says, infuriated about the Richard and Brenda Miles child abuse situation right now. Okay, it says, I don't normally post to this group, and I was never raised a Mormon or been a member. High five. But I have a cultural connection to the LDS Church through my mother's mother, who experienced both physical and emotional child abuse and then spousal abuse, and left the church bitter about the cover-ups and misogyny. Those experiments probably made me somewhat, I guess she meant experiences probably made me somewhat more of a feminist and supporter of justice for children than I would otherwise be. The situation that's come to my attention recently with not one, but 2 of Russell M. Nelson's, 2 of the prophet's daughters, has me infuriated, and I'm unable to attract attention from my usual friends about it on social media, right? I had to confront the fact that people have cognitive dissonance. Joe Schmo. There's your word, your term. That people have cognitive dissonance when it comes to horrible accusations where there's enough of a doubt that they can choose not to believe that justice hasn't been served as a defense mechanism so they can go on about their day and sleep at night and not be ranting about throwing people in federal prison like I'm doing right now. On top of that, there are fewer than 17 million Mormons, and the rest of the public considers them a quote unquote weird cult, or assumes that people deserve it for being foolish. Oh my gosh, that people deserve it for believing foolish things like Joseph Smith and the gold plates. Ironically, this makes me want to defend the LDS community even more strongly because I firmly believe in my heart that the vast majority of believing Mormons are kind-hearted and wonderful people who deserve to be protected from sexual predators who prey on little children, no matter what they do or don't believe about God and the scriptures. And this makes me think about the fundamental, the FLDS, how we're all just like, whoa. But, anyways. This thread is more than venting, though. I've come with receipts. Mods, please note that the links I'm giving are not to anyone's private address or should otherwise be considered doxing. Out of respect for the victims who were the children, I will not, and please do not, share the real names of any of the victims, whether of Bill Karstensen, Dick, and Brenda Miles, or any other names I'm going to name. I have no personal connection to any of these weirdos, and neither do the vast, vast majority of Utah Mormons, much less Mormons worldwide. This is Arden Brett Bullock. I don't know, I guess I'd have to do that and then do this. So, and see how they take the pictures down, That's how Utah be rolling, okay? That's how Utah is. Anyways, let's go back here. This is Arden Brett Bullock, who was convicted of a bunch of heinous child sex abuse offenses in the 1980s in Bountiful, Utah. He's now denying that he did anything wrong at all. Well, sounds like another character we saw earlier in this program, huh? David? Hey, David Hamblin. Anyways, it says inmate is still adamant abuse conviction off base. And this is 2002. That's that little article I just went to. And it says the quote unquote Brett Bullock child abuse ring is particularly awful. It's in the excerpts to the self-published book Paper Dolls, which I'll be linking to shortly. Spoiler, the Cub Scout master who participated in recruiting small children for perversions is the husband of a different daughter of Russell M. Nelson, prophet, seer, and revelator. Okay? When I saw that, I was like, well, mother effer. Okay? Come on now. And where do you think they learned it from? Allegedly. And it says, here's Joseph William Carstensen, the offender who escaped being arrested and almost certainly convicted by committing suicide in 1995. If you're a complete piece of crap who dies by his own hand at 43 to avoid prison, you don't get a very long obituary. He's lucky the church or the second wife's family paid for a minimal one. Then this is, the death of, and I'm not going to go to all these things. Anyway, so it says, many, many thanks to the late Marion Burroughs Smith for discovering the sexual abuse in her own family, working tirelessly for the community as co-founder and first director of Intermountain Sexual Abuse Center, ISAT, and being an all-around nice person. Here's her obituary. And then it says, here's a 90-minute recording from a 1991 LDS Summer Symposium community presentation by Marion B. Smith and several extremely knowledgeable presenters. The church knew exactly what they were covering up in 1991 in Russell M. Nelson's own family. Evil. And here's a blog post that Marion Smith wrote in 96 about how Mormon sexual abuse victims were being hushed up through gaslighting of the adults and threats to the children. The adults denying that perpetrators could even possibly be such. Oh my gosh. One sign universally acknowledged as indicative that a child is being sexually abused is that they start talking or acting out sexual behaviors that they just wouldn't ever think to do on their own. Yep. As a side note, the paper that Dr. Barbara Snow, this is a doctor therapist that everybody in this quote unquote satanic panic bullshit has used as a scapegoat, in my opinion. But anyways, what do I know? So the paper that Dr. Barbara Snow wrote about the ritualized sexual abuse that did in fact, quote, help to fuel the satanic panic, unquote, as Wikipedia notes, was talking about the particularly horrible abuse that I'll be getting to shortly, which must represent 10% or fewer out of the 1% of the general public who are sexually attracted to pubescent children, according to research. Sadly, one sex offender like Bill Carstensen can have dozens of victims across multiple generations just within his own family. And y'all gonna find out, oh my God, it's horrible. Anyways, especially with sizes of Mormon families and the power of denial. That's why the percentage of women and men who are sexually abused as children is 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 boys or more, even though the number of offenders in the community is much smaller. That's why mandatory reporting laws are so important. With those kids reported at the hands of the daughter and son-in-law of Russell M. Nelson is beyond the pale, even compared to regular pedophiles. Bountiful, Utah is a town of about 40,000 people, which is about the size of a suburb of Los Angeles where I grew up. In a town like that, maybe 400 to 500 of the people, I'm convinced that sexual offenders are severely undercounted in general and specifically here, are committing sex crimes, including underage perpetrators and victim perpetrators, are doing normal sex crimes. While, what the Mileses and Bill Carstensen were doing to their victims is so depraved that I'd imagine less than 5% of the pedophiles would want to participate. That's gross. That's like, oh my God. That's like how I feel about Satan, even like looking down at Lori and Chad, like, oh my God, Oof, yeah, I get it too. Okay. But they probably want to watch the footage, which in turn increases the chance of them ending up offending against their own kids. It's all very vampiric. I don't know. I've spent about 30 hours of my own time studying just the Dick and Brenda Miles situation and the surrounding circumstances and the total number of offenders, including the 16-year-old babysitter who offed herself or was killed. The one person who I haven't identified, please post or PM her name here if you can. She's dead and can now only help find the perpetrators. Okay, whatever. I already lost what this damn sentence was about. The one person who I haven't identified is around 40 or 0.1% of the population. The next link comes with a serious trigger warning because it's the first link so far that I'm sharing with graphic details of what the children in Bountiful, Utah have alleged they faced at the houses of Dick and Brenda Miles, Bill Carstensen, and Bill's mother. Don't read even the lengthy excerpts, or at least be prepared to skip over the details of the offenses if you've been a victim of this kind of sexual abuse and or aren't in the right headspace to hear the worst type of sexual offenses possible short of torture and murder. And then that's where I say, open the door. That's Tylee and JJ. Okay. Now what do we see? Can y'all see the spectrum? Anyways, I always feel so alone in this thought. I'm like, how are people not connecting this? It's like people are okay, like with their cognitive dissonance to just be like, oh yeah, you can get around the fact, even though it's horrible, that Lori and Chad and Alex, I mean, just a bunch of adults did some really heinous shit to Tylee and Jay, to kids, right? Baby Emmanuel, they're everywhere. Okay. But people can't wrap their minds around a group of people doing it. I don't know. I'm just like, where? Come on, everybody's still standing way back here at this line that's like they deem not safe to cross, and I'm like, come on, you're almost there. Come on, come on, And I mean, it's you can see it. You're like, hey, you can see it, but you won't go there, and that. I don't understand it. I mean, I guess I was kind of forced into this situation, so there's that. I didn't even think about it. I just wanted to find out where, and I looked everywhere. And this tracks. This tracks with everything, It makes all the sense. It makes sense why Lori and Chad were even able to get away with what they got away with for as long as they got away with it for. Okay. So these people protect one another, unfortunately, and whatever, there's more people that need to be freaking got. Okay. Let me get back over here. Okay. So this says Paper Dolls Healing. Look, I'm just going to show you the cover so you can see Paper Dolls Healing from Sexual Abuse in Mormon Neighborhoods. And so, well, that's kind of why I did the paper dolls on my thumbnail too. Yeah, we're not going to read that. I'll give you the links at the end here. I'm trying to find my way out of this paper bag. Okay. All right. Paper Dolls Healing from Sexual Abuse in Mormon Neighborhoods. And then, so here's the cast of characters. Okay. The adults. And because she writes about this in the book. Okay. There's a couple of authors actually. Or Carol Scott. Well, I guess I don't need to do all this, right? Let me just name the people. Marion B. Smith, Nicholas G. Smith Jr., one of Marion's daughters is Lorraine Scott. One of Marion's daughter's neighbors are Dick and Brenda Miles. Okay. Hank is Bill Christensen. Elaine is Marilyn Brady, Bill's second wife. Okay. Pseudonyms of abused children of Bill and Sharon Carstensen. No real names, please. Timothy, born 1978. What up? That's the year I was born. Isabel, 1981. Courtney, 1982. The baby, 1985. Not abused. Well, at least not by them, right? Bill abused his sisters-in-law too. Sarah is her name. Another older daughter of Marion and Nick. Husband, Jake. More links. Bill Carstensen's mother, who apparently molested Bill from the time he was a baby. Did you hear that? Bill Carstensen's mother, who apparently molested Bill, her son, from the time he was a baby. Yeah, that's that thing I was saying. When I say Carstensen escaped justice by either being murdered by his mother or by suicide, he's alleged to have molested 60 plus people, and his death ended investigations into Dick and Brenda Miles and his own mother. As a good Mormon, although not a good one, finding Luann Logan's family history page was quite easy, though it's auto-generated, which is a sure sign that nobody wanted anything to do with you at I'm sorry, I'm not reading it right, which is a sure sign that nobody wanted anything to do with you at all in your later years, not even for the standard obituary that the funeral home does. So she's picking on that. In an attempt to inject some levity into this terrible situation, I'll save Mr. David O. Levitt for another occasion. I'm like, come on, man. You know, where I gotta go? I need to go look. I'll confess that I've been calling Luann Logan Grandma Incest as a shorthand, and her son, Joseph W. Carstensen, is child molester Bill. He's the perpetrator in the lawsuits against Dick and Brenda Miles. I suspect that Luann either murdered him with pills, I've heard this too, or forced him to Epstein himself in 95. So she got to live on for another 2 decades, his mother did. But was it worth it? By the way, her husband died in the 1980s. And here's the obituary for the father of Dick Miles, Lauren Church Miles. Can you imagine Church being in the damn name and then all this? I'm just saying. Okay. And here's the obituary for the father of Richard L. Miles, Lauren Church Miles Jr., LC, also. Died in 2016. Miles hasn't been accused of anything, nor his wife, Lorraine, but I haven't fully researched either side of child molester Bill's family. Allegedly. All right. Dick's wife. Oh my God. Oh, Richard. Dick's wife, Brenda. Okay. Is the only one with a public Facebook page. I won't be linking to it, but the banner photo is an enormous group family portrait with the accused couple at the center of it. And there's a lot of kids. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Dick and Brenda's house in Bountiful, Utah is easy to find. They're long-term property owners and registered Republicans. You'd imagine that if you'd been credibly accused of hosting illegal child exploitation parties in a house on the edge of town, you might want to move. Can you imagine what sort of evidence federal investigators might find in a sudden, unannounced search? That's certainly probable cause for them to step in. I tried to intermix the bad with the good, so to not make a thread that ends on a bad note. So now for an obituary of one of the honest to God good guys in the story, and he comes from Mormon royalty, to boot, which counts for a lot within the church. He is the grandfather and father of abuse. Wait, whoa. He's the grandfather and father of abuse by Bill Carstensen, Dick and Brenda Miles, and others. I don't know who they're talking about. Here's the obituary for Marion B. Smith's husband, Nicholas Grobeck Smith Jr. If I die at 90 years old and have, I like this person, whoever they are. If I die at 90 years old and have lived a life such as this good man, as well as being Mormon royalty lived, I will consider myself truly blessed. I'm truly saddened that his faith in the church was destroyed, and his faith in God was severely tested by the shocking and sickening abuse done to so many members of his own family. Okay, continuing the thread and back to the horrific allegations. Here's a link to A Blip Here and a Blip There, which is written in 2004 by Marion B. Smith on file at the University of Utah. Okay. Documenting all of the allegations against Dick and Brenda Miles and the late Bill Carstensen, among others described in the 1992 book Paper Dolls linked earlier, but with fewer pseudonyms. Trigger warning again. It's a tough reading. I'm sorry. It's tough reading for anyone. Yeah, I second that. I highly suggest, if you have read this far, that you send these links or this entire post to your faith-blind friends and relatives who think that the president of the organization can't be covering up child molestation on a vast scale, right? I haven't said much about Brenda Miles because her parents are LDS famous. Her father, Russell M. Nelson, the president prophet of the church, has been the president of the LDS Church since January 14, 2018, upon the death of Thomas S. Monson of extreme old age. What's more relevant is that he's a member of the Quorum of the 12 since 1984, which is exactly the time that this child molestation cover-up began. Elder Nelson is directly implicated in covering up the Bountiful scandal that implicates his daughter, Brenda. He has 8 other daughters and 1 son. As a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles since 1984, and another daughter is married to a convicted Cub Scout molester, allegedly. Oh my God. Now, I don't mean to imply that Elder Nelson did kill his wife and mother of his 10 children, Dancel White. Y'all, I'm related to Whites. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. No. Who died suddenly at her house, quote, in his arms, unquote. But the timing is a little suspicious since she was in good health and he married a younger woman almost immediately afterwards. Oh my God, who's that sound like? Oh my God. Okay. Also, he's a cardiothoracic surgeon, so he'd know how to do all the right things to save her life, but also how to take it. You ever watch those cold case true crime shows? Anybody? Well, also, I want to let y'all know that, you know, and I think I forget what this is called. There's a label for this, but so I know that oh my God, Russell Nelson, the president prophet of the Mormon Church, he's a heart surgeon, right? That he actually did one of the first transplants of using pig valves in humans. Okay. And so I know there's a label for that, like using animal parts and anyways, whatever. I just want to let y'all know that Wendy Watson Nelson is Russell M. Nelson's new wife. She's a spry 72. He's 98. But just know he's celestial, married to both of his wives. So I'm just going to throw that in right there. Here's an example of how she comes across to the community. Hold on. I'll open this one. Let's see. Thank y'all for hanging in. I'm sorry. As soon as I'm finished reading. Oh, come on. Today, Wendy. Thank you. Come on. Grandma's slow, but she's old. Come on. Really? All that for that? It's a faraway picture. Well. Okay. She's way back here. So I don't know. All right. Get back over there. Get back up here. Okay. And it says, Wendy Watson Nelson said everyone would be healthier if they let go of disagreements and contentions and wait for statutes of limitations to expire, presumably. I'll end this thread on a low note with a second perpetrator in Russell Nelson's family. And this one's in the official BSA child molesting Boy Scout file, Norman A. Maxfield. While the book Paper Dolls and the 2004 report by Marion B. Smith have been known for some time, it was only through some sleuthing on my own. $1 gets you as many Truth Finder reports as you want for the 5-day trial. And I'm getting my money's worth. I know that, right? That I figured out that the sex offending Cub Scout who's known from those stories is married to a different daughter of Russell M. Nelson. Oh my God. Fortunately, none of his children appear to be tied to anything gross. Still, 2 children in one family. That's what I say about Lori and damn Alex. And then really 3 if you count Melanie. Oh my gosh. And all of them. Anyways, let's stop counting. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have ancestry.com trees. I'd love to. I went to go to this, but I don't want to sign in. That's why I got a Jesus card in my living room that one time. Okay. I have ancestry.com trees for all of these families. I would love to see it, man. So let me know if you want an invite link. If you're already a member, you should be able to find and copy them already by searching for any of the names. I made all the trees public. Norman Maxfield and his son have a dental practice. Oh my God. They have a website. This is horrible to contemplate, but I can't help but wonder if the father molests the children of the patients while the son is cleaning their teeth, allegedly. These repeat offenders never stop until they're put in prison. I'm saying this as someone who's very much anti-incarceration. If we let all of the people in prison for drug offenses or minor property crimes free, then we could keep the child molesters in there for life until we have find some cure, which we haven't yet, or the compromise of serving time and then being on a sex offender registry for life. I mean, I know this was 3 years ago. I'm like, Epstein went to prison, and he was mainly at work and doing the same shit. He'd go spend a couple nights there. Oh, so gross. Okay. None of the people I've mentioned, with the exception of Norman here, having to go on a sex offender list, along with Brett Bullock, the architect, who I started this thread with, and the non-connected members of the Bountiful Abuse Ring, have ever faced any punishment whatsoever. That's the real unfairness to me. And on that note, thank you for reading, and please share. And I mean, look, I went to this comment, I was like, good Lord. I grew up in the Bountiful Mueller Park 9th, later 10th ward with Dick and Brenda and their children. I lived on the same street and babysat for them. I can attest this is all extremely plausible. I was like, whoa. They were oddballs, especially Dick. He later got called as a mission president thanks to his family ties. Trust me, he should have been the last person to be called on a mission president. His calling was a major shelf item for me. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't even get to go look at all these, but amazing comment. So what I'm going to do, oh wait, thank you. I hope more people like you can get information published like this. Russell M. Nelson is a member of an elitist Illuminati cult known as Skull and Bones. So is M. Russell Ballard, or was. And so was that lawyer for Dick and Brenda Miles, Jim Jardine. And then, oh, wait, I don't have it pulled up. Oh, no. Hold on. I got to find it. Hold on just one second. It's important. It might be connected to. Let's see. Let me get out of here. Hold on. Hold, please. Okay. I get all crazy and I'm like, I start just pushing buttons and then I'm like, why are you doing that? Okay. It was in, okay. Let me get there. My history list. I have a lot of history. Should be getting to it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to type it. All right. And this one, I think. Yep. All right. Hold on. Got to find that part. Again, I don't know. Control F and Jardine. There we go. All right, I'm gonna start here. This is Lynn Packer, his OUR report, inappropriate number 33. Okay, pun intended. Okay, so you're gonna hear the name Jardine.
Prepared me to be successful in business. A successful businessman, he is engaged in various enterprises, including automotive, real estate, and investments. During his career as a businessman, President M. Russell Ballard managed several successful companies. M. Russell Ballard was not an ordinary businessman.
Hold on. Why is it not switching? All right, let me stop doing that, and then let me try this again. We got time for this. Hopefully, let me go over there and look. Oh my God, I have two of them. Why? Let me stop again because that's weird. It just did 2. Wait, yeah. Stop sharing there. Okay, whoa, that was weird. So sorry. I've never had that happen. And it's hard to explain if you can't see it, I know. All right. Let's try this again. Lynn
During
Packard.
his career as a businessman, President M. Russell Ballard managed several successful companies. M. Russell Ballard was not an ordinary businessman. He had a rich and varied business background. He had investments in multiple enterprises, and he was known and respected in the Salt Lake area as a successful entrepreneur, and investors trusted him.
I went back a little bit.
Ballard was called as an LDS bishop at age 29 while he was working in Utah's ultra-corrupt penny stock business. It's a calling that not only would have given him some credibility, but also connections, contact with others working in the same field, and with potential investors. 2 bishops in neighboring wards were penny stock brokers, Ballard and Paul N. Davis. Paul Davis's first counselor, attorney Leo Jardine, would become an officer and director for Ballard's Valley Music Hall penny stock company.
Okay, so that was it. I look, that's how my brain works. I notice names and, anyways. So Leo A. Jardine or Jardine, however he said it, first counselor to whom? I forgot.
Brokers, Ballard and Paul N. Davis. Paul Davis's first counselor, attorney Leo Jardine, would become an officer and director for Ballard's Valley Music Hall penny stock company.
Valley Music Hall. Boy, why do I feel like that was a scam or someplace for, diddling to go on? That's where my mind goes with these people. I can't help it. So I'm not going to give like an unbiased opinion, and you're not going to get that here. And I wish I could go back there, but I can't. It's like once you open that door, you can't close it. You can't. You have to. You're through it. You can't unsee it. Oh, I'm glad you're here, China Clay. I'm so glad you're here. I'm outside of Utah. I'm in Louisiana, girl or boy or person. I'm sorry. Okay, now, but I'm so glad you're here. It wasn't the pink pony, Joe. It was not the pink damn pony, Melanie. Right? That's funny, dude. Okay, now let me find which window I need to be in. I think it is this one. All right, so we're back here. Oh, actually, let me finish reading that damn thing. Hold on. I'm just going to read it. That comment. Remember, I'm probably making y'all dizzy right about now. This one right here. Thank you. I hope more people like you can get information published like this. Russell M. Nelson is a member of an elitist Illuminati cult known as Skull and Bones. It's a secret society, a death cult. Just know that like George Bush is in it, Big Bush and Little Bush, and M. Russell Ballard, Russell M. Nelson, and this Jardine guy who's a lawyer, just like Daddy Leo, maybe. I don't know if that's his dad, but I'm sure. But these birds of a feather flock together, in my opinion. And basically from my research too, like they do. But it says, I don't think you're off base with your assessments. Also see Monarch Programming by the whatever, the CIA. Killuminati. Anyways, it requires these types of repeated abuses to break down a child's psyche into altars and create a mind control slave. See, I didn't understand all this kind of language whenever I was going into it. And I still am like, what? Like I don't quite know how it works. I just know that there's a thing, there's this that exists, and let's just call me girl. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand it because Lori and friends, they all went by this like war and go by. They're not dead, they go by like they think they're warriors, and I don't know. And there's warrior program. There's zombie programming. There's demon programming. And I'm like, I don't understand that yet, but there is that. Just know that there's things called that. And I'm like, how does this work? But I would say one of the ways for sure is what David Hamblin shared with us earlier, his parts theory, where you shatter the system, the brain of a child whenever you put moves on it, because it's a child and it has no basis for adult things to happen to them. So the child dissociates. The child, their brain splits. Your brain split anytime. I believe it's like every time you have a major traumatic event. I mean, poor Julie Rowe, right? No, I'm kidding. She done had like 50, 11 freaking near-death damn experiences, okay? And Chad Daybell likened his near-death experiences to just bad trauma, a big bad belly flop, all right, with his big fat ass belly. Anyways, I said it. I did. All right. Okay, back to the oh my gosh. Let's see, where's it at? Am I already on it? No, I'm not. Okay, there it is. I think. No, there it is. Okay. Sorry, got a lot of windows open. All right, so now back to Tyler reading this on We Are the People, Utah. Okay. I'm going to grab these links too while they're talking.
And Brenda Miles, and a mix of both.
Okay.
The defendants
Trigger
are,
warning.
as Justin explained in his introduction, they are Dick and Brenda Miles. And again, Brenda is President Nelson's daughter. All right, so going to the next page here in section B.
And by the way, we will have a link to all this in the show notes.
Yeah, they do too.
So that we do not want anyone taking our word on these things. We want you to have all the information yourself. This stuff should not be buried. This should be accessible to the people.
Amen.
Thank you. So B, at the bottom of the page, sexual crimes committed against Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, and John Doe 1. So Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2 and John Doe 1 are all siblings. Jane Doe 1 is the eldest daughter of Mother 1, who's going to come into the picture later. And Jane Doe 2 is actually the third oldest child of Mother 1. John Doe 1 is the only son. So these are the biological children of a sexual predator hereinafter referred to as perpetrator. The perpetrator is no longer a living person, having committed suicide in 1995. Defendants Doe Male 1 and Doe Female 2, along with perpetrator who were in the same LDS ward in Bountiful, Utah, committed sexual abuse when the opportunity allowed against Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2, and after he reached approximately a year old John Doe 1 from approximately early 1984 to late 1985, or early January 1986 in Bountiful, Utah. There were other similarly aged children believed to be in the same LDS ward who, along with plaintiffs, were also victims of these crimes. Doe 1 male defendant and Doe 2 female defendant, the Mileses, led what they called touching parties at their home and at the perpetrator's home. These touching parties were sometimes attended by acquaintances and friends of defendants and perpetrator. In addition, a 16-year-old babysitter who was a young woman in the same LDS ward would be present from time to time. It is believed that this babysitter was both a victim of crimes against her and a perpetrator of crimes. This 16-year-old babysitter is no longer living, as it is believed that she, like the perpetrator, committed suicide. The parties would occur 1 or 2 times per month, seemingly whenever there was opportunity for the adults to isolate the children. During these touching parties, some of the plaintiffs in Plaintiff Group 1 would be forced to undress and perform acts of sexual perversion. Typically, the touching parties would begin with adults instructing the children to, quote-unquote, put on a show for them, including dancing, and ending with the children undressing, while the adults applauded and encouraged. Once the children were naked, defendants, perpetrator, and any others present would sexually assault the children by touching their genitals and vaginally and anally penetrating them with fingers and objects such as crayons or candy.
Because that's
Doe male defendant 1 and female defendant 2, along with perpetrators, along with perpetrator and others present at these parties, would force the children to touch the genitals and or breasts of others present. The children were additionally forced to put their mouths on and lick the genitals of one male defendant and perpetrator, though one male defendant and perpetrator would not fully undress, but would expose their penises to the children and coerce and manipulate the children to perform these vile acts, which the adults would call, quote unquote, marriage lessons.
Y'all, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm thinking of R. Frankie. Remember the allegations that came out either from Ruby or Jody? I think it was Ruby that was like, no, it was Jody saying, don't let him around any other children. And I believe, and it was Ruby saying that he had whatever. She alleged some nasty shit, but I'm telling you, there's people that were allegedly bringing their children to people like David Hamblin to train their children in this system. And there are reports about that very thing from the Hamblin daughters that I've read about. And I mean, I was just like, oh my God, like they forced the child to watch porn, and to have his way with his sisters and his mother anytime. And he's like 8, allegedly. And I'm like, what the fuck? All right. I got that out of my system.
On at least one occasion, the children were forced to watch as perpetrator had sex with / statutorily raped the 16-year-old babysitter. On another occasion, perpetrator had sex with the children's paternal grandmother, perpetrator's mother, while the children were forced to watch.
That's Bill's
Furthermore,
mom.
Doe 1 male defendant, Doe 2 female defendant, the Mileses, and perpetrator, Bill Carsonson, would put candy on the children's genitals and force the other children to lick the candy off. Jane Doe 1 remembers this occurring when her brother, John Doe 1, was just a year old. Defendants and or perpetrator, depending on the occasion, would remove John Doe 1's clothing, touch his penis until he was erect, put a powdery candy on his erect penis, and make the other children, including his siblings, lick the candy off him.
Yep.
Over time, Doe 1 male defendant and Doe 2 female defendant, the Miles, began videotaping the touching parties. Jane Doe 1, who was the oldest of the children at the time of the assaults, recalls the defendants videotaping the children dancing and undressing and continuing to film as the sexual assaults and rapes occurred. In addition to the children of plaintiff Group 1, other children from the ward were also victims of sexual assaults and rapes at these parties. So what I'd like to do now is read portions of Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 5, and John Doe 1's declarations. These are their actual statements of fact, as is sworn, as adults, but these are sworn affidavits under penalty of perjury. All right, now this should be on the screen as well for you, audience.
Thank you, Hope.
Declaration of Jane Doe 1. Jane Doe 1 was born approximately 1977. We're going to skip down to 2 from approximately 1983 to 1986. While I was 5 to 8 years old, my siblings and I were sexually assaulted on numerous occasions by my father, Bill Carstensen, who was known as perpetrator. Doe 1 male and Doe 2 female, the Carstensens, who were in our local ward, my grandmother, so this is their paternal grandmother, Bill Carstensen's mother, and a teenage babysitter who was also in our ward. There were also other teenagers and adults involved from time to time. The abuse included touching parties, which were gathering of adults, teenagers, and children. The adults involved were primarily perpetrator and the Mileses. My teenage babysitter, who also babysat the Mileses' children, was named CW. When the touching parties first started, my younger sister, Jane Doe 5, and the daughter of the Mileses, who was Jane Doe 5's age, were involved. As I got older, the younger daughter of the Mileses became involved, as did my younger siblings, Jane Doe 2 and John Doe 1. I also remember seeing BD, another young girl from the ward, at some of the parties. These parties would happen frequently, sometimes on a weekly basis. sometimes 1 to 2 times a month. I remember having touching parties on Saturday and then going to church on Sunday and having
Oh my God.
Sister Brenda Miles, aka Sister Defendant 2, be our primary chorister and having her husband, Defendant 1, Dick Miles, sit up on the stand since he was in the bishopric. Typically,
Okay, God. Okay, God. I just need a break for a second. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. That was horrible. Oh, there was an allegation I remember by Carl Crusher whenever the Ruby and Jody and all that, their abuse came out in what, 2023 was it, I believe. And he said that, you know, they went like they're YouTube creators, him and his wife at the time. And then, of course, Ruby was a YouTube creator, and so are her sisters. Well, he alleges that they went to this like weekend getaway, you know, all of the like YouTube creators / Mormon community, I guess. I don't know. And there was something, but it was adults. It was more like, what is that? Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Okay. Like it involved peanut butter and a dog, allegedly. I'm just throwing that out there. And that's rumor and speculation. That's from Carl Crusher. Anyways, that's so touching parties. I've heard this more than once. I mean, come on, when you have the freaking, what do you call it, soaking, y'all. I mean, this ain't, I don't know. It just is a slippery damn slope, and I don't mean that punny. Okay. Oh, let me shut up.
The touching parties would start with the adults telling us to quote unquote put on a show for them. These shows were usually dances that me, Jane Doe 5, and the oldest daughter of the Mileses would perform. These dances would always end with undressing. I remember this is when an applause from the adults and our babysitter would get the loudest.
Repetition
After
ain't
we were
reward, y'all.
naked, the adults and teenage babysitter would sexually assault us.
Oh my God.
This included touching our private parts and penetrating us vaginally and anally with their fingers, and sometimes using objects like crayons or candy to penetrate us.
Who does that?
I recall Dick Miles, D1 defendant, being the meanest of the adults. He seemed to encourage the others to participate. There were usually treats and bribes involved at every stage of the parties. The finaling included the adults masturbating me and the other children. The adults forced me and the other children to touch and masturbate them. The adults would refer to the touching as quote-unquote marriage lessons.
That's whack.
I was forced to touch and lick Dick Miles and Bill Carsonson, my father's genitals. Defendant 1 and perpetrator, Dick and Bill Carsonson, did not always get completely naked, but would expose their penises and make me touch and suck them. I was also forced to touch the bare breasts of Brenda Miles, defendant 2, as well as my teenage babysitter, CW. It seemed to me that defendant 1, Dick Miles, was in charge of the parties and would encourage all the kids to perform. He would also encourage the involvement of adults. At one of these parties, I saw my father, perpetrator, having sex with our babysitter, CW. At another, I saw him having sex with our grandmother, LS.
That's his mother.
Correct.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which, again, when you read, especially a lot of the ritual abuse, the victim statements, you hear so much, it's generational. It is parents and bloodlines, parents abusing kids abusing. And so you see so much of this abuse generationally, that parents abusing their kids. This is why there's just such a concern to us.
Yep. Okay, yes. I'm getting the links together, okay, y'all?
Going down to 8. These parties would take place at my house, at the Miles' house, and at my grandmother's house. These parties seemed to happen nearly every time the babysitter would watch us, or when our mom was out of town or away from the house. There were times when my mom and Perp and my father, Bill Carsonson, were on a date, and the parties would happen at my house with just the Mileses and our babysitter, CW. And sometimes with an older adult man and or friends of CW, the babysitter, being present. When I became older, Jane Doe 2 and John Doe 1 were also present at these parties. I remember Jane Doe 2 being touched, similar to what happened to Jane Doe 5 and me. There were times when each of these adults penetrated Jane Doe 2's vagina with their fingers. There were other times when Jane Doe 2 was penetrated with objects. When John Doe 1 was just over a year old, he became an object of these parties as well. And I will skip over this. Again, it's all a lot of the same thing, and you're free to pause and read through this. But I did want to mention this, that there were often threats or punishments that we wouldn't tell what was happening. Some of these threats or punishment, including making us drink a concoction containing urine and feces. Other times, we were forced to drink coffee.
I've heard this.
After drinking the coffee, the adults proceeded.
Sorry, I'm trying to pause it. I've heard this in so many other survivor stories, and the Hamblin daughters themselves too, and that so the Hamblin daughters allege that their father, David Hamblin, this is what they allege. I don't know, wasn't there, thank God. That he believed his sperm was the righteous seed. And so one time there was this tree, she said, that was dying. And so he went and spanked it right over there, on the tree, and just was like, okay, it's going to be all better now. I'm not playing. It's the righteous seed. That's kind of like the same thing he allegedly told Brett Bluth, the guy that was recommended to him by the church, that would cure his homosexuality. I wonder how much righteous seed Gordon Bowen got. Anyways, ew. Oh,
to shame us for being bad since we were breaking the word of wisdom. They explained that since we were wicked, nobody would believe us, so we better not tell anyone.
Hey, JoJo.
Makes you wonder if they put anything else in the coffee too for these alleged incidents.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of that as well. There was drugging allegedly involved. 13. Throughout the years of abuse, my dad, and the Mileses, and others, I prayed to Heavenly Father for the hurting to stop. After we disclosed the names of our abusers, my mom kicked my dad out of the house. We then spent some time with my Belle and Papa, my maternal grandparents, at their condo in Hawaii. While I was in Hawaii, my maternal mother typed a poem that I wrote about the abuse I suffered at the hands of my father and the Mileses. The poem is attached as Exhibit A. We're going to read a small portion of that in a little bit. Elder Maxwell was a friend of my maternal grandparents.
What?
Elder Maxwell gave me and each of my younger siblings a blessing by laying his hands on my head. During that blessing, he said something to the effect that the abusers had made, quote-unquote, horrible choices. He talked about how God would be the judge of these adult abusers and that I needed to forgive. So I want to stop there and pause for just a second, because I want to acknowledge that this apostle, Neal A. Maxwell, is acknowledging and giving credibility to these allegations. Let that sink in for just a minute. My dad, Bill Carsonson, Perp, baptized me when I turned 8 years old, during the time that he and the Mileses and others were doing these terrible things. After disclosing the abuse, I expressed a desire to be rebaptized, as I believed my original baptism was tainted and should not count, because my father was not a worthy priesthood holder. This request for baptism was granted sometime after Elder Maxwell gave me a blessing. All right, let's go through and just read a small portion of these heartbreaking journals and poems that Jane Doe 1.
But before that, I just found a spot in Visions of Glory, y'all, where, okay, let me turn this on. But I'm reading from the, what is this called? The foreword, Visions of Glory. And it says, this is Thom Harrison, okay, who's friends with Neal A. Maxwell, the one you just heard say forgive and forget and gave the kids blessings, okay? And you're going to find something out even soon. I can't wait. Oh my God. Okay. Another reason for his reticence is that Spencer is a professional counselor of children and holds all the degrees necessary to work in this field. He rightly considers his work with troubled children to be his life's calling, and he does not want any form of recognition. Well, recognized. Anyways, recognition or curiosity to disrupt this most important work. Anyways, that was just a little blurb of he's retired now, allegedly, Thom Harrison, but this is the same Thom Harrison that blessed Tim Ballard, to become the future prophet of the Mormon Church and the future president of the United States, and has some really weird end time visions, allegedly, about abandoned children, when all the Armageddon happens and all of us Gentiles, get got when we die. They're going to be saving the world and ushering in Jesus, don't you know? AKA, for anybody who's new here, that's a new world order. That's what they're really talking about. But anyways, my thing is, I remember Ryan Fisher saying this about how Thom Harrison allegedly had some weird end time kind of visions or ideas about OUR, Operation Underground Railroad, and how it would help all the orphaned children. Because all of us parents, we die. I don't know. Stay the F off our kids. Okay. First off, I don't want them nowhere around y'all. But so this bothers me because, I have my notes too this was from Mormon Stories podcast whenever Megan and Lauren and Mindy were on there. And it says it was the episode Mentor to Jody, Hildebrandt, Tim Ballard, Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, Mormon Stories podcast, Thom Harrison. So at 1 minute, 13 seconds, 49, whatever, 113 timestamp. According to Lauren with Hidden True Crime, vetted, reliable, and credible source, Lauren saw actual texts. Okay, whoa, hold on. It went to Garth after that. Okay. Okay, so allegedly, according to Lauren on Mormon Stories podcast and Hidden True Crime, allegedly a lady patient of Thom Harrison's for years, a very credible source vetted by Lauren, saw text exchanges between them. Lauren saw text exchanges between this alleged lady and this alleged Thom. Okay. And it says, started seeing Thom as a young adult. She allegedly would go to Thom for counseling as a young adult. Would help OUR know who was light and dark within the organization. So Thom allegedly can tell people, whether they're light or dark, Sound familiar? Okay. And then Thom allegedly brought this woman to the temple when she was young and told her she was one of his eternal wives. Can't make this shit up, y'all. He allegedly referred to her and others as being light and dark energy spirits. He allegedly violated many boundaries. Oh, shit. Okay. I hate not having a desk. I don't have much area right here. So she alleges that he violated many boundaries as a therapist. Also, much of it was about spiritual connection and eternal marriage, and frequently spoke of alternate beliefs, mostly not included in mainstream LDS doctrine, practices, and beliefs. He allegedly shared his ideas about the pre-existence, eternal polygamy, relationships about people in other states of existence, etc., etc. Well, he just sounds like a bundle of awesomeness. And he allegedly taught Chad and Julie how to remote view. Portal. Okay. Yeah, I'm right there with you too, Huggy. Now that I think about that, I'm like, you know what, asshole, if you wouldn't have met with Chad and Julie, they wouldn't have had this spiritual gifts, you know. Oh my God. And maybe my family would be alive. Maybe Tammy would be alive. Maybe people would be alive. And so I also wrote notes for this bountiful child sex abuse ring. And okay, I'll wait because it's not there yet. Okay, so I just wanted to chime in about Thom real quick with what I have right here on my hand. On, you know, just to kind of get a feel for Mormon Stories podcast. It's hold on. Let me grab my notes. Damn, blacklight is bothering me. Let's see. That's some thick paper. It's, quote, mentor to Jody Hildebrandt, Tim Ballard, Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow. I don't know. It's one of the exposés on Thom Harrison. Visions of Glory. I didn't write the link down because, I mean, it's my handwriting. But I'm going to play this and I'll go grab it, okay? I will get it. Have no fear.
She's got to be like 10 years old.
8 years old. She's 8 years old at this time.
Are these the journal entries that's in her writing?
These are typed up.
We'll have a link to the journal entries that she wrote in her writing. And I'll tell you, when you read it in these things in this little girl's journal, it'll break your heart, you know, seeing these. I believe these kids, and it just breaks your heart that this stuff goes on.
I got it. Number 1826.
So, first poem. Daddy, I hate you. Daddy, I do. You have done wicked things. And the Mileses, Sister Miles, Brenda Miles, has too. You have made me suck on your penis and took me to your awful mom's. She's worse than you. You have tricked mommy and lied to her too. You took me to the Mileses, and I'd like to hate you. I truly do hate you. Way worse than I would hate to eat mud. Daddy, I would like to strike you dead. But the good part of you I love more than my own head. We're in Hawaii. I miss you so much. We've truly had such great fun. And read so many stories and had so many treats. But Daddy, I miss you the most when we're on the beach.
So conflicted.
It's heartbreaking. You can tell she loves her dad.
She's messed up,
but she's been
trauma bonded. Loves her dad. Trauma bonding. Of course she loves her dad, but that's why this stuff's so evil.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to pause.
All right, bear with me 1 second.
And then we're going to jump over to the Mormon Stories podcast because it's good. This is the one I just shared with y'all, and I'm about to put it in the link. I mean, in the chat.
Right. Okay, moving on. The next point we want to talk about is Eternal Core. And Eternal Core, the logo is here on your screen. Eternal Core, exploring God-centric mental health. And this was founded by Thom Harrison. I believe it was also co-founded by his friend Ken Krogh, and we can talk about Ken in a minute.
A whole whiteboard meeting on him.
They would do podcasts together. They put on at least one conference, I think maybe two. And then you can find their videos on YouTube under Eternal Core.
Not anymore.
And at this point, I want to give a shout out to two Redditors that I drew heavily from for this part of the podcast. Chino Blanco on Reddit and Devil's Ravioli. Thank you for your great work in compiling some of this information. It was very helpful.
Those were impressive.
Yeah.
Connecting the dots.
Yes. Okay, so let's look at the photo of the group photo, John, from Eternal Core. We talked about a few of these before. So we have Thom Harrison in the center. And then to the left, we have Tim Ballard. And then to the far right on the center, we have Jody Hildebrandt. And there are some other notables in this photo. On the top row, there's Alema Harrington. He's a local sports caster, news person. I believe on the top, on the end with the blonde hair, top left, is Jessica Mass from Operation Underground Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And then down below, on the bottom far left, is Kenneth Cope, and some people might know him as a pretty popular LDS singer.
That, and he was at the Preparing a People conference that Lori and Chad were, a couple of them that they were going to.
And songwriter. I'm not sure if he spoke, but I think he did some musical numbers at the concert, or excuse me, at the conference.
Actually, look, so it makes me remember back whenever whenever we listened to Thom Harrison's boring, mind-numbing freaking, I don't even know what to call it, but he also printed it in the front of his book here. I'm trying to find it right now. Basically, it's a transcript between Thom Harrison and John Pontius, and they and in the very beginning of the pod, I don't know what to call it. It's like a fireside, and it's audio that, I mean, I have it, and it's like a transcript that they also printed in the 5-year copy edition or whatever of Visions of Glory. I'm looking for it. I mean, any other time I'm can't get around it. I can't get away from it. Okay, it's a transcript of interview with John Pontius and Spencer, aka Thom Harrison, at the Unblog My Soul reunion, September 1st, 2012, at the Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. And it's so, I know that he says, oh, Kenneth, that was so delicious. I don't know. It sounds disgusting. Just the way he says it, you know, but because I don't have that pulled up, but I have the book right here, I was hoping that I would find what he said to Kenneth. But anyways, that's who he's talking about, Kenneth Cope. So where's Kenneth? Right there. To the left, bottom, far left. Yeah. That was so delicious. Maybe I can find it. Audio.
And then just below below Thom.
I found it where it says, it starts off with the fireside saying, "Can you hear me? I feel like I'm in the hospital ICU." Anyways. And it says, "First, I want to tell you all what a blessing it is to be with you. The Spirit is so wonderful, and I'm so grateful to be here among you. And Kenneth, thank you. That it was just delicious, wonderfully delicious. I really appreciate your willingness, your spirit, your light, and being a conduit." Gross. Y'all, I just want to... Oh, wait. He says Kenneth down here too. Spencer says, or Tom says, "I'm often asked..." Well, why would it say John? "I am often asked, John, why do these things happen to you?" Oh my God, that sounds like Melanie Gibb when she says that to Lori Vallow. "Why do these things happen to you?" Kenneth said it so beautifully. Quote, "God loves broken things," unquote. John chuckles. Anyways, that's disgusting. Who knows what... Oh, here he is again. I'm just going to keep on. And okay, hold on. As a child at birth, they looked at me. I was blue. Oh my gosh, y'all, my throat is driving me nuts. Let me pause. I'm going to mute for a second. All right. Hopefully I got it. As a child at birth, they looked at me. I was blue. They wrapped me in newspaper, because that's what they do at hospitals, and put me in the sink. And they went to my mother and said, quote, "Your child is dead, and we have to make a hernia repair," unquote. They stuck an anesthetic over her nose and mouth, and she went to sleep. I believe that the reason these things have taken place in my life is because that veil, Kenneth, was always open. And it was opened from the first moment that I came to this earth. And I believe if it opens, it is kind of like a bad washing machine door. Oh God, I said that kind of earlier. It's hard to ever get it shut again if it is a little broken or stuck. I'll finish out. So I have had this wonderful blessing and have been able to have that opened and experience things. And also, I've had the wonderful blessing of being very ill in my life. For a long period of time, I really didn't think it was a blessing. John says, "I'm going to give you an amen on that." All right, let me push play. Anyways, I just wanted to read the Kenneth part.
Harrison. On the slight left, his name is Tyler Schwab, and he's also an employee of OUR, of Operation Underground Railroad, and he works in their aftercare. And then there's other people, but those are just the connections that I was able to make. Oh, just to the right of Thom Harrison is a gentleman named Clay Olson, and he is behind the Fight the New Drug campaign, which has been very popular in Utah, which is talking about teaching teens about pornography usage. So if there's anyone in the comments.
Somebody messaged me and told me that the founder of Lifestar is also amongst these photos.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm searching for it, but
He
I
is
think maybe it was
right.
on their message. Maybe out of fear, or maybe I just can't find it. But
Do you want to tell everyone what Lifestar is?
yeah, Lifestar is just this network of sort of approved, faithful Orthodox LDS
that Jody worked for.
therapists that bishops would refer their members to, and in many instances pay for that therapy. So as I understand it, Jody Hildebrandt, for example, sort of owned a Lifestar franchise along the Wasatch Front. And that's how so many Mormon bishops would channel clients to Jody and pay for the therapy.
There it is.
That was received. So
thank you,
and
Jesse.
Lifestar's focus was on, quote, sex addiction. And it was basically treating normative masturbation and problematic pornography viewing. Is that
accurate?
That's right. Do you want to play the video clip that shows Thom Harrison talking about some of his methods of
and this is at
Mormon therapy?
This is at that conference?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I hope y'all are okay with me kind of going, when I see a link or whatever, I want to include it because it needs to be included, I believe. Again, you can find all these episodes. I'm collecting the links as I go, and I'll share them with you. Shared some already, but I just think it's important to kind of get it into more of a one, instead of it being over here and over there and everywhere. I just think it's important to kind of gather them all together.
The Eternal Core Conference.
One of the Eternal Core conferences.
Okay. All right. This is therapist Thom Harrison now.
Oh, Lord.
Numerous times in my 41 years of practice, I had a patient come through the door and I had a plan already of what I was going to do. And that voice said, stop, don't do that, do this.
Creepy.
And that glorious ancestor, or that glorious grandmother, or that glorious individual who loves that person enough to make their way to my office said, stop it, Thom, that's not what they need. Do this instead. And when I did it, miracles happened.
And I saw that clip on Reddit, and as someone with a PhD in psychology, I've been trained, was trained for 6 years, super duper unethical. Like any licensing board worth its salt would suspend his license for admitting that he basically performs religious, psychic-based, informed psychotherapeutic interventions where he basically, in his imagination, channels the dead loved ones of his clients and lets them dictate what the psychotherapeutic treatment should be. Super unethical and outrageous.
Yeah.
So what the hell,
ancestors?
What do you think Chad Daybell was doing? Like, this is what the hell is going on, and this is what they're doing.
Big part of his book. Big part of Lori's sentencing speech too. We heard. I mean, just full circle. There's the channeling ancestors.
Yeah. But to know this guy's leading Mormon therapy conferences, that as he claims, he consulted Mormon Church general authorities for decades, supposedly as an expert on child abuse. So deeply disturbing that the church used this guy as a consultant.
Again, deciding what missionary shouldn't be serving
now.
He's right now at this moment. So is he deciding this through their ancestors, Or is he deciding this through case studies and science?
Or is he doing this through light and dark? Like, no, you can't go because you're dark. You're a dark soul. So again, what Chad and Lori were doing and practicing, there's so many more, which is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think many of us that have been thinking about this case and about Thom currently, separate from the book, but currently just in his current therapeutic practice, I think we've wondered what kind of a therapist has he been? You know, do we have stories out there about, you know,
I bet
what kind of, if he's done things like this that we just saw in the video, where is he telling his patients that he's channeling their dead ancestors to help them? Is he acting professionally? And then we have something that Lauren would like to share, that somebody that
this is that
counseled with
part.
Thom reached out to Lauren.
Yes, I've now talked to a few patients of Thom Harrison. I think
this is corroborating the notes I took and shared earlier. So I'm glad. I'd rather it come out of her mouth.
This woman's experiences, she's told me that as long as I keep her anonymous at this moment, she is considering coming forward later with her name. But she's told me I can share a few things. I'm not even going to share all of the things she's allowed me to share. I'm going to share some things that I find really important. So this is a patient of Thom Harrison for years. She started seeing Thom Harrison. And I want to say that I have vetted this individual. I know who they are. They're vetted.
In other words, you find them to be credible.
I find them to be very credible. This is a very credible source. And yes.
And I'm just going to say, for legal reasons, that these are allegations. We're not saying that they're true, but we're sharing them with every good reason to believe they could be.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is I wouldn't just share any source. This is a credible source. This is a person that was a patient of Thom Harrison's for years. I have seen text exchange between them, if that means anything to anyone too. So these are the points that I want to share today that she's allowing me to share. She started seeing him as a young adult. Thom referred to me and others, including someone close to me, as having light and dark energy, or being light and dark spirits. That is, I just need to repeat, that is Chad Daybell's rating scale. And we'll get into Tim Ballard there, but I've also heard that Thom Harrison would help OUR know who was light and who was dark in the organization as a whole. So that goes with what else I'm hearing too. So Thom referred to me and others, including someone close to me, as having light or dark energy, or being light and dark spirits. He violated many boundaries in therapy, including those I told you about, specifically taking me to a temple as a young adult, and considered me. He told me there in the temple that I was one of his eternal wives. Truthfully, so much of it was about spiritual connection and eternal marriage. And he frequently spoke of alternative, mostly not included in mainstream LDS doctrine practices, beliefs, and ideas about the pre-existence, eternal polygamy, relationships with people in other states of existence, etc. So that's not all she told me I could share, but I think that's what matters right now, is we're seeing a pattern in these beliefs that are being shared and taught, and even now entering into therapy with his patients.
One really quick, I found the text that I was referring to previously. I'm going to jump back to that to the Eternal Core conference slide. And this is what a source writes. I'm pretty sure the second man from the left on the top row is one of the founders of LifeStar.
Right there.
Dan Gray is the name that this person is providing. This person says, I worked for LifeStar in Rexburg for a while.
Rexburg.
Thankfully, I came to my senses.
So is he from Rexburg? Dan Gray, this fella who owns LifeStar? If so, I just caught that. Maybe. Let's see.
That this person is providing. This person says, I worked for LifeStar in Rexburg for a while. nuts. Thankfully, I came to my senses. Thank you for your amazing work. So that's another name.
Okay.
Dan Gray.
Okay.
Allegedly, we don't know if that's true, but Mindy, where do we go next?
Yeah, I think to follow up on some of Tom's patients and their experience that they've had with him. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing that from your source. I did want to talk about Ken Krogh. He is a friend of Thom, and he helped to found the Eternal Core Exploring God-Centric Mental Health brand. So a little bit of background on Ken. He is a wealthy businessman who unfortunately was in a terrible automobile accident, and he says that after his automobile accident, he really began to change his behavior, where he was just saying inappropriate things and feeling tempted by pornography and some other things, which he said he previously, that was new for him. That wasn't something that he had dealt with before, and he was very distressed about it. He claims to have heard Thom Harrison's voice at some point. I don't recall if he said it was in a dream or a vision or something, but he remembers hearing Tom's voice. And he was talking to his friend, Rod Meldrum, who you have interviewed on this podcast. Stories, yeah. And Rod is behind the Book of Mormon evidence.
And the Firm Expo,
and the Firm Expo
that I attended. We'll get to that later. But yeah, he's important, Rod Meldrum.
Lauren will talk about that later. So Rod tells Ken, you need to talk to my friend Thom. And so this next clip is where Ken talks about how he was introduced to Thom and how Thom helped him with this problem.
All right, let's roll the clip.
Sorry to play so much.
In the middle of this conflict between different groups of Latter-day Saints debating over things like, where did the Book of Mormon happen? And why is this? Why is that? And I had been in the middle of it thinking, okay, I'm supposed to help 54,000 young people learn how to use social media. And if they get in the middle of these discussions, it's going to be worse than if we didn't even bring it up. I went back into my journal of a few weeks before the accident.
Oh, my God.
And I had written down, I don't know what to do. I can't figure out who's right. Heavenly Father, bless me with an open mind. Be really careful what you ask for.
Okay.
I was meeting with Thom. I said, Thom, why do I, and before I could say, he said, Ken, why do I feel like I know you? I said, Thom, why do I know your voice? Thom's got a pretty distinctive voice. He said, I don't know, but let's talk about it next week. And I said, and why am I having these crazy urges and temptations and appetites? I can't even slow them down. He says, well, let's talk next week. By the way, Thom excuses himself and goes to the restroom quite often. What I've learned is he's really going to turn to Father and ask, how do I help this person?
Okay.
Linda, you've got an amazing husband. So I came back.
Oh, I get it.
And he said, Ken, I need to ask you, what's your calling in the LDS Church? I'm like, why are you asking me that? What does that have to do with anything? No, just humor me. I said, well, 2.5 weeks before this accident, I was asked to be the head of social media ministering for the young single adults in Utah County, 30 stakes, 54,000 of them. And he said, what's their greatest challenge?
What's their greatest challenge?
I said, without question, it's pornography.
Ethnography.
I said, oh. He said, Ken, you can't help what you don't know. And within a month, it was gone. It was utterly, completely, totally gone. And Thom was like my personal Obi-Wan, but it wasn't him. And he says it. He says he turned me to the force. He turned me upstairs to the Lord. And ever since then, I'm really careful about asking for an open mind or anything else.
So I think he's implying that he asked for an open mind. He has this new calling as the director of social media, ministering over 54,000 young single adults. And then after his accident, he develops this unusual urge to view pornography. And then Thom counsels him that you can't teach what you don't know. So to me, that was implying that God gave him the urge to look at pornography. Am I reaching here? Is that kind of what everyone else got from that? It was a very roundabout way to kind of to get to that point, but I think that's what he was implying, that he asked for an open mind, he had this urge, and then he claims that Thom helped him through that and that he didn't have that temptation.
But it's like also by Rod Meldrum. Hopefully I'm not muted. Okay. Rod Meldrum is who hooked Thom Harrison up with Ken Krogh. So anyway, I wanted to play this too, because this is the 2019 alleged secret whiteboard meeting, right? Lynn Packer. Oh, I have it muted.
Being held as a labor slave is also connected to a Tim Ballard OUR nonprofit that failed to register with the IRS. But first, Ballard's secret plan. He unveiled it at a clandestine meeting in August 2019. It was a plan so secret that he asked the 10 or so people attending to sign confidentiality agreements. But now, 16 months later, at least one attendee turned a diagram of the plan over to Davis County investigators. They're conducting a criminal investigation into Operation Underground Railroad, its CEO Tim Ballard, and Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes. I reconstructed the chart from a diagram Ballard drew on a whiteboard during the meeting. The drawing shows multiple Ballard-controlled for-profit and nonprofit entities, several paths for money to flow to Tim Ballard's main for-profit company, how OUR would bring more converts into the Mormon faith, a deeper involvement by the LDS Church's presiding apostle M. Russell Ballard than I had previously reported in Op-Ed 6, and OUR's takeover of an orphanage in Haiti in an apparent attempt to monetize adoptions. Ballard wanted to make millions. His nonprofit, Operation Underground Railroad, has millions of dollars in the bank. But he cannot simply write checks to himself at the risk of losing tax-exempt status. He had already taken his annual salary above $300,000 in 2018 before backing off that approach.
Cheers to
One
nonprofit.
solution, surround that nonprofit with other nonprofits and for-profits in a complex labyrinth of entities where money would eventually flow into his personal bank account. A bonus, the same publicity sizzle, that is what he called sizzle on his chart, that generates donations and profits, could bring masses of people into the Mormon church. It was his capitalism begets church converts plan.
Oh, I beget it.
At the top of the diagram, Slave Stealers LLC with 3 partners, Brian Norton, Tim Ballard, and LDS Apostle Russell Ballard as a silent partner. An outside nonprofit run by former OUR operative Paul Hutchinson was envisioned to donate to multiple entities. Ballard's use of the word sizzle was taken to mean that the nonprofits would attract donors by way of dynamic humanitarian missions, such as rescuing child sex slaves. Money would end up in Ballard's own company that would make more money with a new movie, his speaking engagements, upcoming books, and some of that would go back to Slave Stealers LLC.
Okay, I can corroborate this right now. I was sent a 2016 whiteboard meeting that I would say the 2019 whiteboard meeting, you know, it's kind of like how I see it going down, except at the 2019 alleged whiteboard meeting, there were probably there's actually said to be like all the higher ups were there, allegedly, but it didn't seem like that was so much the case for the 2016 one, which I'm about to show you once I find it, which is, let's see. This will do. I mean, this is just a little short that I have, but it's Ken Krogh in front of this white. Actually, let me go to, I've shared this here recently, or quite a few times. Oh, am I muted?
So Ken's background is he built a multi-billion-dollar company
on this stuff,
inside sales, like huge office, you know, and so that's why. And I met him through Elder Ballard, because Elder Ballard and the churches used him to use the same kind of tools and technologies for the missionary program and everything like that. And Elder Ballard actually looked him in the eye, and Elder Ballard can't even affirm this right now. But he said Tim will be 10 years ago. He said Tim will be a household name. Yes. And I was just like, what are you saying? Like, no one knew who I was at the time.
And he said, if we don't do it in 10 years, we'll all be slaves.
That's right.
Yeah.
He said he took to Ken and he said, Ken, you need to guide that process to when it happens.
You know what happened the next 2 nights? I had dreams all night long about what to do. And I even saw Tony Robbins. And we went up there to that whiteboard, crazy. And we made a 2-story high whiteboard, and we circled all the best places. And we circled the biggest name of all would be Tony Robbins.
This is before we knew him or he knew us.
We didn't even know. And the Lord had our back. I didn't do anything about that other than highlight what he showed.
Well, I remember Elder Ballard, I said, well, he said, okay, well, Tony it is.
Yes.
Okay, well, how do we get to him?
Yes.
And Elder Ballard said, don't let the Lord take care of that.
And he did.
Within 6 months, Tony Robbins calls me. Bizarre.
And already firmly committed, and that's where we're going, you guys. So,
Young Single Adult Project, all that stuff. But I'll hit on
This
that.
is the actual whiteboard.
So, but what we do is we mimic the traditional model. And the traditional
Blah, blah,
model
blah.
is you've got PR, which rolls to marketing, which rolls to sales, which rolls to customer support. Typically.
So, yeah, what I did was I corroborated what Tim Ballard, I didn't know, this is just kind of how it came out. I got sent this whiteboard meeting, anyways, and then whenever this audio came out from, I want to say Celeste Borges, one of the women suing Tim Ballard, and she provided this recording in her lawsuit. Well, it just so happened I had the video of that or at least a 2-story freaking whiteboard. Okay. And with them writing names, Tony Robbins being one of them, I was like, well, that tracks, you know? And I just kind of added the visuals, like this video here. And then, you know, he looks cross-eyed there, and Russell Ballard. Anyways, just to kind of, I don't know. I'm a visual person. So when it,
how do we get to him?
2-story high.
When it says 2-story high whiteboard, I'm like, well, there you go. Here you go. Here's your sign. But this is where they're writing everybody's names. I want to say it's right here.
I'm going through it. These are ambassadors. And this is not, so these I'm giving you now, or not just no, but like they're already committed to doing, I could call them up and they'd be like, let's do it.
So these are yeses.
Yeah, these are already yeses.
Brilliant.
What's that little girl? This little singer? Lexi Walker. She's a yes.
Here's your name.
Brooke White.
Brooke White's a yes. She's already in. She does the thing on my ask.
Is Elizabeth still involved?
Elizabeth Smart.
Elizabeth maybe.
There was a big pause there.
Yeah, she's not a yes. I put her on there. No, but I'll put her question definitely not a yes.
She'll do anything we want.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do anything we want.
Yeah, you've got some friends that. So I'm going to put a question mark there.
Yeah.
Well, she probably has this model friends up there. Oh yeah, let me work.
Well, it would help her, yeah. I mean,
This would help her
a ton.
It would
What really
save her.
means is she's probably
They're
got
like-
people guiding her around who are old school.
Yeah, but they're like Stone Age compared
Keep
to where we
going.
Terry Crews.
Did you hear that? How he's like, yeah, she'll need us. And they say that again here in a little bit. Terry Crews. Yep. Oh yeah. This is like the Epstein list, but not as up there yet. So start tracking the names now, is what I'm saying. Because they run in the same circles, by the way.
He's pretty much a yes.
Wait, what's John Travolta's life?
Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston.
John
And this is a
Travolta,
great way to get to
Kelly Preston.
John Travolta.
what's it? Marisol's friend, the cute, tall blonde.
Oh, Marisol Nichols.
Jenna Elfman.
Jenna Elfman.
Oh, what the? Oh, yeah, that was
Hey
it.
everybody, Dr. G
Well,
here.
hey, Dr. G.
Can I
What's
just
up?
say that story real fast?
Anyways, it's like a 2-hour long bore fest, but not whenever you're, when they're just the plan. It's the plan. Now, it's not the one that Lynn Packer was just now talking about. I guess. I don't know. They seem to have more than one secret whiteboard meeting, And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. However, it is whenever you're starting to spill it into like other, like for profit, like you're raising money and then you're, hold on, I'm trying to get to it. And then here's slave stealers up here, which M. Russell Ballard was on with him for profit. Okay. And so this one's Paul Hutchinson's over here to the left. And as you can see, Tim Ballard. So anyways, it's like different nonprofits. Okay. Orphanage in Haiti, Mercury One, Liberty and Light, Equity Trust, Children Need Families, a sizzle, the Nazarene Fund, that's Tim Ballard, Glenn Beck, and what's his name? David. Can't think of it right now. David. Oh my God. It starts with a B. I don't know. Oh shit. Oh well. David Barton, who also went to Preparing a People conferences with Chad and Lori in that same time frame. He's a Texan. Anyway, so the Nazarene Fund is TNF, okay, and OUR, which was Tim Ballard's. Also, I mean, don't forget like Mercury One's on there. Don't forget the Spear Fund, and God knows. I mean, God only knows how many other companies, nonprofits out there are under all these people's names. It's like, I'm telling you, y'all, it's just like Gathering Humanity, or I'm wondering if Chad and Lori were really going to invest. And look, I found this in my Uncle Charles's stuff, and I shit you not. Gathering Humanity. This is two of the women's nonprofit organization that were casting out demonic spirits from Uncle Charles and I'm sure the children and Tammy and Brandon. Gatherers. Just fucking saying. Okay. All right. I said it. Okay. I got it out of my system. Anyways. I mean, it's wild, right? It's wild. So it's like, so are they like, look, my mind is going in so many different directions because I mean, there's so many things I want to touch on, but I also know, I mean, we're at 3 hours now, but I mean, I'm enjoying this too. I don't know. Where'd it go? Here. Let me hold on just 1 second. I'm trying to write down. I mean, I had it laid out. Hold on. Just calm down, Chris. I'm a digger. I told y'all. I'm a digger. Okay. Do y'all mind if I share with you guys? It's this. It's called The Fullness of the Priesthood, the Second Anointing in Latter-day Saint Technology and Practice. And it's by David John Berger, I guess. You see that symbolism right there? That is not healthy. It's just not. You got the eye, you got the compass, you got the star, you got the beehive, you got the handshake. No bueno. So I highlighted some things earlier because I was like, wow. Okay. Alrighty. Crush is not crazy. May not be Mormon, but I'm not crazy. Call me. I'll do a damn documentary. You probably won't be able to air it because, you know, they'd be on all the TV stations and stuff. I'm sorry. I just talk like that. Oh, yeah. This fell out of it, too. Mormon affiliated group linked to rituals of devil worship. The cult. Oh, my God. Okay. Okay. So, sorry. I'm old school. I like tangible things. Let me go turn that light off because it's making my paper glow. Okay. Now, I'm already old. I don't need help blinding myself. Okay. Blinded by the light. Okay. So I skipped to page 15 and it's called The Fullness of the Priesthood, which I learned through Mike Stroud, listening to him a boatload of times that I can never get back. That there's the fullness spelled with 2 L's and then there's the fullness spelled with 1 L. 1 L is special. I know that much. I don't know why it's special. This, I mean, I found it on Academia or something. I'll find it. Just right now I have the paper copy. But it's called, again, I'll show it to you again. What? I'm sorry. Bad get up right now. The fullness. Ooh, okay. Anyways. All right. But to do a little history lesson real quick. It says, and this is page 15 from this whatever article, or I don't know. He has a book too. The School of the Prophets was formally established in January 1833, and this ordinance was administered as directed. While the revelation did not explicitly state any relationship between the ordinance of washing feet and the ritual of sealing, which had been practiced for over a year, Joseph indicated that in addition to being quote unquote clean from the blood of this generation, participants in the washing of feet were quote unquote sealed up unto eternal life. Lori and Chad. Doctrine and Covenants 88:119 had commanded the saints to quote unquote establish a house, even a house of prayer, a house of fasting, a house of faith, a house of learning, a house of glory, a house of order, a house of God. Unquote. 6 months later, on June 1st, the Lord rebuked the prophet for failing to begin construction of a house where he, is actually capitalized, would, quote, endow those whom I have chosen with power from on high, unquote. That's DNC 95. I don't know how to say these things. 8, 95:8. I don't know. 95 verse 8. I don't know. While work on the Kirtland Temple thereafter proceeded apace, even before the dedication on March 27th, 1836, and it says see DNC 109, Joseph had introduced the promised new ordinances, which were to comprise the core of what later was termed the Kirtland Endowment. So this is the first time I'm like, oh, I've never really heard that one. I've heard of the second anointing, calling election, the second comforter, but never the Kirtland Endowment. Okay, so what the hell? I'm losing my place so easy. On January 21st, according to Joseph Smith's account in the history of the church, the first presidency, and it goes to smaller writing, and it says, retired to the attic story of the printing office where we attended the ordinance of washing our bodies in pure water. We also perfumed our bodies and our heads in the name of the Lord. when they say attic or upper room, that is where they do second anointings. Okay. I've never been in the temple, but I'm picking up what they've been putting down for 6 years. Okay. And it says, at early candlelight, I met with the presidency at the West School Room. This is all directional. In the temple to attend to the ordinance of anointing our heads with holy oil. I took the oil in my left hand. I'm Catholic and we always did the right. Anyways, there's that. And I lost my spot for that. Okay, I took the oil in my left hand. Father Smith being seated before me, and the remainder of the presidency encircled him round about. We then stretched our right hands towards heaven, raising their right arm to the square, y'all. Okay. And blessed the oil and consecrated it in the name of Jesus Christ. We then laid our hands upon our aged Father Smith. Oh, Father Smith, like dad. Okay. I get it now. And invoked the blessings of heaven. I then anointed his head with the consecrated oil and sealed many blessings upon him. The presidency then in turn laid their hands upon his head, beginning at the oldest until they had all laid their hands upon him. And this reminds me of the LDS Church of Satan, Chain of Lucifer. I'm sorry. It's a ritual that they allegedly do, and except it's an orgy. So there's that. Anyways, now it's like, okay, that's why Alex had all the freaking tarps. Gotcha. I mean, I get it now. I get it. I'd rather just know what it is. Just saying. Not this particular thing. I'm just saying that's what this group does. That's what they do. They need tarps. Probably for, disposal. And just think, Alex Cox was he would go and suck sewers and porta potties. Imagine the dump that could have contained things or people, or I don't know. That's wild. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking for it. And promised the blessings upon his head, as the Lord put into their hearts, all blessing him to be our patriarch, to anoint our heads. The presidency then took the seat in their turn, according to their age, beginning at the oldest, and received their anointing and blessing under the hands of Father Smith. I'm going to keep going because it's interesting. After several days of anointings administered to other priesthood bearers, the prophet on February 6, 1836 said, or he called the anointed together to receive the seal of all their blessings. The first part of the inspired order was to be spent in solemn prayer before God. Solemn means something because it's everywhere. It's in the judicial system, solemn oath, solemn prayers. Anyways, without any talking or confusion, and the conclusion with the sealing prayer by President Rigdon, when all of the quorums were to shout with one accord a solemn Hosana to God and the Lamb. Remember whenever I shared that with you guys? Amen, amen, and amen. Hold on. I'll give you a visual. Sorry, because this freaks me out. Straight up. Just does. Damn it. Amen. Don't say it. I wouldn't do it. Okay. Do we want Hinckley or Nelson? Let's do Hinckley. All right. Here we go.
In a moment, I shall offer the dedicatory prayer in which all of you are invited to join. Immediately at the close of the dedicatory prayer, we invite
don't be pulling out your white hanky
who may wish
to
participate to stand and join with us in the Hosana Shout. This sacred salute to the Father and the Son is given at the dedication of each of the temples. I will now demonstrate the shout.
I swear
Each
Tylee
one
and
takes a
JJ are
clean white
sacrifices.
handkerchief,
I don't know.
holding it by one corner, and waves it while saying in unison, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Repeated 3 times, followed by Amen.
Look at this mass
Amen,
ritual
and
that's about to
amen.
happen.
All right, brothers and sisters, please
Look
stand
at all the
if you
people.
will.
Night, night, Miss Mojo. Or good night, Hawkeyes. All the
Hosanna,
people.
Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Amen, amen, and amen.
Yeah. When I first saw that, I was like, holy shit. Okay. Okay, hold on. I was going to type this, but I'll just say it. I believe the point is, and this is just my understanding, this is where I'm at. I believe the point of the way this church does things, not saying that any church is right, but this one particularly, I think the point is to turn people away from God. That's just my opinion, to have them so twisted, because everything is twisted. I mean, I'm sure that's in every church, but it's so twisted in this one. I can say. It's I mean that tracks, you know, if they can turn people away from the Lord, then winning, you know what I'm saying? I don't think they're playing for the same or the team that I play for sure. Anyways, back to I want to read some more of this, okay? Hang tight, y'all. I know I blank out too, but because I'm not Mormon and I was never like trying to be, I look at it as if it's codes or like a book and it's gonna like Lori looks at Visions of Glory. Okay. I look at it like it's gonna be telling me some things, and it does, because I don't look at it like holy. I don't care, you know, but it does mean something very much so. It's the language that Lori and Chad speak, especially Lori. And so she lives by the scriptures, remember? So that's what I'm doing. And I don't know if I'm looking at them inverted or if they're just inverted or what. I don't know. Maybe to an unsuspecting person, maybe it's like, oh, yeah, Jesus, Joseph, you know, blah, blah, blah. But to me, I'm just like, okay, there's Jesus and there's Joe again. All right. You know, I'm just saying. I don't hold any sacredness, I guess. And I feel bad. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Just want answers. So, okay, continuing on right there. The presidency. Hold on. So they pronounced blessing upon his head as the Lord put into their hearts, all blessing him to be our patriarch, to anoint our heads. The presidency then took the seat in their turn. So this is something they're doing that's some kind of ritualistic, you know, to them. I don't know. I'm not saying it's creepy. I'm just saying it's something they're doing. Sitting in order, I don't know, according to their age, beginning at the oldest, and received their anointing and blessing under the hands of Father Smith. After several days of anointings administered to other priesthood bearers, the prophet on February 6, 1836 says, or called the anointed together to receive the seal of all their blessings. They love their sealings. The first part of the inspired order, I think this is the United Order, okay, was to be spent in solemn prayer before God without any talking or confusion. And the conclusion with the sealing prayer by President Rigdon. I'd read this already, but it's okay. When all the quorums were to shout with one accord a solemn Hosanna, which we just heard, to God and the Lamb with an Amen, Amen, and Amen. And then all take seats and lift up their hearts in silent prayer to God. And if any obtain a prophecy or vision, that's interesting. I was like, what'd they just do? What'd they just take? Anyways, to rise and speak that all may be edified and rejoice together. All right, now I'm turning the page. Turn the page. Taking a drag. Page 16. A few weeks later, at the dedication of the temple, Joseph Smith instructed the quorums of lay members and church officers on the ordinance of washing of feet. 2 days later, on March 29th, the presidency, quote, proceeded to cleanse our faces and our feet. I hope not with the same rag. And then proceeded to wash one another's feet. Oh, here we go. Touch parties. All right. Unquote. Anyways, after this was done, those in attendance, and this reminds me of Tim Ballard, y'all, quote, partook of the bread and wine, unquote. That damn partook. The next day, a group of about 300 male church members met in the temple and, after the administration of the sacrament, received the ordinance of washing of feet as well. Amen, huh? The prophet then announced that he, quote, had now completed the organization of the church and we had passed through all the necessary ceremonies, unquote. It was just 4 days later, however, again in the Kirtland Temple, that Joseph received a vision recorded in Doctrine and Covenants 110 of the prophet Elijah, who gave him the full sealing power of the Melchizedek priesthood, an authority which Joseph Smith did not fully reveal and use until Nuavu. In Nuavu, the prophet Joseph continued to expand Mormon salvation concepts. So, Mormon salvation concepts is the key phrase there. He defined the principle, and that's something that Lori, Chad, Jody, Ruby, they all of them, Tim, they all say principle. They all live by these certain principles. And I'm like, are they inverted principles? Because I believe so. I believe your principles are inverted, sir. And I also hear them say all the time, we heard Thom Harrison say it earlier. He said miracle. Lori said miracles, miracle, 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 right? I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, so here we go. Here's comes some good part. Okay. He defined the principle of, quote, making your calling and election sure, unquote, in a June 1839 sermon as a principle which allowed a church member, after a lifetime of service and devotion, to be, quote unquote, sealed up unto eternal life, y'all, to exaltation while yet living, a concept clearly based on 2 Peter 1, 10, 11. I don't know how to say all that. Quote, wherefore, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fail. For so an entrance shall be ministered unto you abundantly into the everlasting kingdom. Anytime you hear everlasting, that's polygamy, in my opinion. Everlasting kingdom of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, unquote. This June 1839 sermon has additional importance, for in it, Joseph not only linked making one's calling and election sure to sealing theology, here we go, but also added the notion of a comforter. Okay, that's that second comforter. And it says right after that, that's John 14:26, and it says, which he defined as a personal manifestation of Jesus Christ. This is when Lori said she saw Jesus in the fucking temple. Okay? She didn't really see Jesus. She just saw the code. Okay? She saw the dog whistle. And Zalema also was asking Chad about, how do I know when I make my calling and election? And he's like, oh, you got it, Zalema. You made it. And this is a call out that fucking call out that that Julie Rowe was doing with all that code shit she was talking. This is a call out. Whenever they're invited to partake in the secret shit, okay, that exalts them, not in eternal life. It doesn't. It's in this life, and in my opinion, it gives them the ticket into the New World Order. It's what it is. That's what they're doing. That's the second coming of Jesus Christ to Lori and Chad and them. Okay, I promise you. I was like, what? Whenever I figured that out, I was like, oh my God. Anyways, very inverted, of course. I mean, by ye fruits ye shall know. But anyway, so it says these ideas were in turn associated with the concept of personal revelation. So remember when they said Chad got his own personal revelation, and then that's like a big no-no? Okay. So if they fall out of line, there's safety mechanisms, I believe, in place that also dog whistle the church too. And so that gives them the benefit of plausible deniability to say, they're gone. They're fringe, offshoot, and they can cut ties. And this is why there's so many freaking factions. I believe you heard it here last. Okay. This is what it is, y'all. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not very good at explaining things, especially in this stuff, but that's my basic understanding. So again, and then it says, so they were okay with the concept of personal revelation. He urged the 12 apostles and all Mormons to follow in his own footsteps, but it doesn't capitalize his there. So it says, to follow in his own footsteps and, quote, become perfect in Jesus Christ, unquote. Rituals, man. There was no reference to the temple in the sermon. Indeed, there was no functioning temple there were no functioning temples at this time. Well, they're catching up now. In January 1841, well over 2 years after the Mormons had abandoned Kirtland and its temple, Joseph announced another revelation. In it, the Lord asked, quote, how shall your washings be acceptable unto me, except ye perform them in a house which you have built to my name, unquote. DNC 124:37. And that's the purpose of this new temple would be, quote, that I may reveal mine ordinances therein unto my people, for I deign to reveal unto my church things which have been kept hid from before the foundation of the world. Oh yeah, New World Order shit. Okay. Things that pertain to the dispensation of the fullness of times. That's this dispensation. Just saying. DNC 124, allegedly, I don't know. 124:40-41. And it says anointed saints were thus advised that their Kirtland ordinances were forerunners to other ordinances to be revealed after a temple was completed in Nauvoo. This is all code shit. As before, however, these ordinances were revealed in advance by the prophet. They were, oh, wow. So the prophet, like Nelson, would have had to be like, oh, okay, Chad and Lori, yeah, yep, we'll take them. Yep. But they have to have the invitation from the freaking prophet, the living prophet. They don't just go till up and become James and Elena on their own. Okay. Anyways. That's why I blame the church. And Chad and Lori. All right. Let me get back on track. So it says, okay, anointed saint. I already said all that. Forerunners to other ordinances to be revealed after a temple was completed in Nauvoo. As before, however, these ordinances were revealed in advance by the prophet to a select group of church leaders and their wives. Other people's wives are okay. The quote-unquote quorum of the anointed, unquote, or quote-unquote holy order. New World Order. Anyways, this action proved providential as Joseph was killed well before the temple's dedication. Hold on. I got to get to this one part. It's right here. Next paragraph. On May 4th, 1842, that was Tammy's birthday, May 4th, not 1842, but that's her birthday. After 2 days of preparation in the upper story, that's that up there, going to the boom boom room. Okay, 2 days of preparation in the upper story of his store in Nuavu, gathered together 9 men. 9. James Adams. This is the weird, I'm telling you why we saw the weird names with Phoebe and what's all their damn names? Oh my God. Phoebe, Joanna. What was Melanie's? The other Melanie. Miriam and James and Elena. They're issued new names, okay, to go with the ordinance. They act as these people. They are proxying, but not. Okay, so James Adams, Heber C. Kimball, William Law, William Marks, George Miller, Willard Richards, Hiram Smith, Newell K. Whitney, and Brigham Young. There, according to the history of the church, he, here we go, instructed them in the principles and order of the priesthood, attending to washings, anointings, endowments, and the communication of keys pertaining to the Aaronic priesthood, which is like the little kitty one, and so on to the highest order of the Melchizedek priesthood, setting forth the order pertaining to, here's your sign, to the ancient days. Anytime they use the word ancient, just know it's some secret shit, in my opinion. And all those plans and principles by which anyone is enabled to secure the fullness, 2 L's, of those blessings which have been prepared for the church of the firstborn, and come up and abide in the presence of the Elohim, which is plural gods, in the eternal worlds, more than one. In this council was instituted the ancient order, again, of things for the first time in these last days. Therefore, let the saints know assuredly that all these things referred to in this council are always governed by the principle of revelation. Oh, shit. Okay. I got to do some studying. But anyways, please tell me y'all get it. Sealing spouses and families together for eternity, again, finding their inspiration in the prophet Elijah, and progressing toward godhood, ultimately required a formal ritual to give a sense of permanence and divine sanction to those beliefs. In addition of this sealing ritual, the addition of this sealing ritual in the context of this discussion of second anointings was added to the 1842 Holy Order ceremony 1 year later. See, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but then it starts talking about the actual procedures of the endowment ceremony have created much speculation. You think? You do secret shit, boy. Centered on its possible relationship to certain aspects of Masonic ritual. There it is. Some scholars have concluded that Joseph Smith relied heavily on certain Masonic rites in framing the endowment, period. During this period, his sermons contain many allusions to such Masonic notions, assigns key words, tokens, degrees, ancient orders, etc. Indeed, Heber C. Kimball, a longtime Mason, wrote to Parley P. Pratt on January 17th, 1842, quote, "There is a similarity of priesthood." He spelled it Preast, separate word, hood. Why? In Masonry. So there's a similarity of priesthood in Masonry. Brother Joseph, SES, Masonry was taken from priesthood, but has become what? Where'd it go? but it's become degenerated. There's a period there. My bad. Anyway, so that's all I'm gonna do for right now. Then they talk about the Female Relief Society, which I believe is like, you know, the female masonry. Anyways, I don't know. I hope somebody gets it because I'm tired of being by myself. Okay. Huh? What? You okay? Yeah, you can't. The first rule of the second anointing is you don't ask questions about the second anointing. Right. Right. NWO, totally. It's like we've got the tickets, and so that's why they're doomsdayers. That's why Julie Rose trying to be like she's trying to instill fear and call up these earthquakes. Chad and Lori were doing all this, okay? I mean, Zalema said she was on a tectonic plate, but was she remote viewing? I mean, come on, they got all these weird concepts and all this stuff. I've looked into these things, but do I fully understand? No. And then it's been scary to understand, okay? Because I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy about my world that I live in. You know, I never would have gone here ever. But here we are. Here we are, past life wives. And that's what they talk about. This is what they do. This is the doomsday part. This is the point. This is what all the elites are doing. And that's my opinion. That's where I stand right now. Is that's what they're doing. And they're in on the secret, and you know, they can cause these things. Unfortunately, they can, you know, guide weather. Hell, they can create aliens, in my opinion. I don't know. Don't we have that big mothership coming right now? Like December 10th or something? I don't know. Jason's like, oh my God, he never gets upset or worried about anything. And I'm just like, oh shit, I guess I'm a worry too. Not worry, but I'm going to go out with a blaze of glory, you know, when it's time. So it's just getting a little weird out there, y'all. And maybe it's been weird. I just wasn't a part of it. I was in my own weirdness. My ears are so red. Anyways, we did not finish at all. And it's almost 4 hours. And what we can do, I don't know if Joe's on board, maybe Tuesday night. We can go further into, oh no, because I don't know what to do. I hate that. I don't like sitting on things. But how do I do this? What do y'all want to do? Well, at least in this system, I believe like they're going to do it this way. I've seen the same kind of pattern when I was reading some Warren Jeffs practices from his diary or whatever, allegedly. Like it's like the same. They're the carrot. They're dangling the carrot. So I would say for Diddy, it's hip hop. You can sell your soul, basically. You can become anointed, but in hip hop world, you know, by doing this or whatever, selling your soul. And I don't know. I haven't. Let me think. Country music, you know, that genre. There's different churches. There's different religions, and I wonder if like I believe the Catholics also have like a holy. Because you can get like your marriage blessed. You know, I don't know. I haven't gone that far into other territories, but this is sure what it looks like for me or to me. Yeah, if y'all want to, yes, tomorrow night. I'd rather because we're on a roll, I think. Sorry, I know I took y'all down and half-ass read, you know, The Fullness of the Priesthood by David Berger, Boyga, and I'll get that link for you by tomorrow. The Fullness of the Priesthood, the Second Anointing in Latter-day Saint Theology and Practice. Doctrines of Salvation, which I mean, I have one of the books that I got from DI when I was up there, but I didn't get the right one. It's like the third edition that I needed. And I'm telling you, they can't delete those son of a bitches. Okay. They can't dirty delete. They can't 404 me, you know, like they do these websites and stuff, and they do gaslighting. You know, they're like, oh yeah, no, it's not the same speech. They'll never know. Anybody who does that, who's so covert, I'm telling you, I know y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe some of y'all do, but there's these there's this one speech you can find online on YouTube. And then when you put them side by side, like the original with the one, anyways, what they did was they went and like scrubbed out the words that are controversial, I guess, and then put it out there. And so when people maybe saw that talk or whatever by that leader, when they go back and see it, they're like, oh, I mean, it was like back in the 80s, that's what it looks like back in the early 90s or something. And so you wouldn't think, oh, it's been changed by my church leaders, like they wouldn't go and dirty delete shit, right? That's extra, right? I believe so. It pissed me off and I'm not even a member. It'd be like me deleting certain things out of a comment in a comment section or parts of this video and saying, no, this was it. This is not edited, make you think you're crazy. I think that is so covert and wrong. I saw that on Radio Free Mormon and Bill Real, Mormonism Live. Yeah. Or Mormon Discussions. I don't ever know which one. But anyways, y'all have any questions? Yeah, I might have answers. Maybe not. I don't know. But we'll get back to, so I'll schedule again tomorrow night, which is happy Labor Day, y'all. And y'all be safe. And it was interesting. I'm glad. I know when I got you, because you're like, I hate. And I'm like, that's so me. I'm like, always like, this bothers me. Shocker. And I get it. I'm your spirit animal. But anyways, I don't know that Mike Flynn. I'll have to go look it up. Is it like a Masonic oath or something? That's what it kind of sounds like. Theosophy prayer don't sound good. Is it? So like what just happened with the Hosana to God and the Lamb bullshit? Okay, hold on. Oh, I don't know why I hit that. Hold on. Hold, please. I need to grab my mind real quick. This thing right here. So I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show you something else. So let me look. I'm going to play this again while I go find some. Oh, no, not that one. Oh, no.
In a moment,
okay, I'll be right back.
The dedicatory prayer in which all of you are invited to join. Immediately at the close of the dedicatory prayer, we invite each one of you who may wish to participate to stand and join with us in the Hosana Shout. This sacred salute to the Father and the Son is given at the dedication of each of the temples. I will now demonstrate the shout. Each one takes a clean white handkerchief, holding it by one corner, and waves it while saying in unison, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Repeated 3 times, followed by Amen, Amen, and Amen. All right, brothers and sisters, please stand if you will.
I'm looking for it, damn it.
Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb. Amen, Amen, and Amen.
Hold on, damn it. Got me again. Freaking Hinkley. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong damn. I'm sitting there on my home screen. Oh my God. He scares me, y'all. I'm not being ugly. I'm really freaked out by that dude. Hold on, I'm still looking for it. I'll make y'all look at it. Just kidding. All right, let me fix myself though, so you don't have to, but you'll look at this icon instead while I continue to try and gather my damn thoughts. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Damn it. Crush a K. And I spelled it wrong again. Okay, let's see. Oh man. I got time for this shit. Oh yeah, tomorrow night's also going to be the premiere of the new documentary that's going to be out tomorrow. I want to say I'll have to go check the times again, but it's like 7:30 or 8:30 Eastern, whatever. And it's about Jody, mainly focusing on Jody, and it's a documentary that a lot of people are going to be in that we know. What the hell? Where is that? Hold on, I can only do one thing at a time, unfortunately. I mean, did they take down SoundCloud? And all right, whatever. Apple, I guess. If not, I got it. I got it freaking screen recorded. I just can't find it right away. Oh my gosh, Google sure is being real testy lately. I mean, like, do I have to spell it verbatim? You know, or is that where we're going? Let's see. Hold on. I'll share this so y'all can see what I'm doing. Oh, y'all can't because oh well, you're not missing anything. Well, I feel like you are though. Hold on. I'm looking for the podcast. Yeah, I always want to see more. I don't know. Let me look over here. Damn it. Y'all can see my crazy selection here. These are my photos and videos. Let's see. I mean, it shouldn't be this far back. Oh, portalio. They sneaky. After this, hell should be easy. Amen. I'll amen to that. Huh. Oh, well. I'll just share it tomorrow, but it'll be separate. But I guess I'll play the Hosana Shout again. But it reminds me of whenever I was listening to, actually, I have it. I have a portion of it. Hopefully it'll be that part. Hold on. Just hang tight. Hold your bra straps. Girdle up your loins. Okay. Girdle up your loins. Okay. All right. It's in none of these. So hold on. I'm going to learn. Just not today. Okay. So it'll be. Oh, content. Go here. Content. And anyways, I don't really care for this one. That's why I posted it and then I didn't.
I love the aspect of when
it reminds me of mass ritual. Like what we just saw with Hosana, where they got the whole congregation to stand up and do this Hosana shout all at one time. I'm glad, Huggy Bear. Okay. Well, this kind of reminds me of what's being proposed here, if I have the right one.
ask for a group of people to pray or to
Yes.
get on
Yep.
their knees at a certain time. And, maybe you don't want that shared, but it's so significant to be on your knees when you know that there's this group of individuals in harm's way that really need all the help from heaven.
Yes.
And you feel such an amazing part of the team. You're not in Haiti with them. You're not in South America with you, but you are part of that team. And all at once, there's this group of individuals on their knees pleading
It just
that
don't sound
the team will be protected, but also that there is help coming to these victims.
You've had that happen. I mean, with your own family and trying to find
your two little kids, and I remember I've got a text from you 3 minutes before
And-
the van doors open, and you guys are
Yeah.
are in harm's way.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit
Yeah,
more.
absolutely. Yeah, I love talking about it because we actually encourage people to go to our OURrescue.org and sign up to be a member of our prayer team.
Wow.
Where we send something out before the operation. We don't necessarily say where we are or what we're doing, but it's a powerful thing. And what's interesting is some people say, well, I want to support OUR, but I don't pray. I don't believe in prayer. I even have some team members, very few, but they don't necessarily believe in that. So anyway, just more amazing insight there.
Okay, hold on.
Times that I served.
Just listen
times
to that.
others
You got to
served
do
me.
something.
And all of a sudden, as I just thought about those moments in my life, I was filled with something that I recognized.
I
It's the
bet.
same thing I recognized when I had gotten off on the
Yay.
freeway, off the off ramp to go visit this little boy.
We
I
got
felt
off for
optimism.
sure.
I mean, I was in tears. I was just like floating. I feel like I wanted to go run a marathon from his house. I was like, what is this?
Oh,
I felt
shit.
optimism. I felt courage, unity, these amazing things. I said, what is this? He says, Tim, it's a chemical reaction. It's a chemical. When you give, when you serve, your brain actually releases these amazing
on.
chemicals, oxytocin.
You think he really cares about that?
Endorphins, serotonin, and it's what. And if you're a spiritual person like he is, he says these are the chemicals God puts in your body that opens up the heavens, that helps you to get past the physical and into the spiritual. But whether you
I
believe that
can't
or
find the
not,
right one. Oh well.
the reaction, the fruit of this is real.
I'm trying to get to it.
So I wanted to do my own research on it, and I found a brain specialist, one of the people that helps us heal the brain of the children who have been traumatized. His name's Thom Harrison, and this is what he says, his research.
Just know that they don't have aftercare. So there's that. So what the hell does Thom Harrison do? And why is he using a therapist? Freaking oxytocin research. What he wrote that paragraph right there with his AI. The research is conclusive. I mean, come on now. They're so grifty, McGriftersons. It's unbelievable, y'all. I mean, to the nth degree. There's nowhere and nobody that they will not exploit. And that is that's my word. Like that. My word is my bond. And I would scream this out to anybody and everybody because they are so fraudulent, in my opinion. And it's, I mean, and so I've been learning about the elites and how they do exploit. And when I say that they exploit a missing child or missing children, and then when they find their remains, they exploit them even further because they own the stations, they own the funeral homes, they own every goddamn thing, and they exploit and use. They don't waste nothing. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And they dupe us the entire way. That's maybe not every time, but it sure does look that way. And anyways, what is this Huggy Bear? Let's see what you got. No, I hope not. Is he going to be? Please, no. Or oh, you mean prophet? Is he going to be the Antichrist? Because that's what he'd have to be for Thom Harrison to bless Tim Ballard and say, "Hey, you're going to be the future prophet and the future president." I mean, that's church and state, church and state. that's the theocratic shit that's already in place in Utah for sure. Anyways, yeah. Hey, all right, y'all, we gotta go. I'm like turning red in here. That's what he's saying. That's what he said. Oh shit, no. Well, I believe in prayer, so let's just pray against that. Not in mass. We gotta do it together. But oh well, if it's God's will, the Antichrist is prophesied, so there's that. Allegedly. I'll just say allegedly. Good night, y'all. Anyways, it seems like Chad was trying to get in on the grift with his book and PAP tour, but I honestly think Lori was into the crazy light dark zombie crap and VOG and being, yeah. I mean, Tom was Chad's friend. He was going to Chad's fat ass was driving either the Dodge Dakota, okay, or the minivan, probably the minivan. You know, he's going to leave Tammy with the shittiest one, right? And he was driving to Salt Lake City, allegedly, him and Julie, to go and be taught by Thom how to portal. And how to portal, I've learned, means remote view. Remote view is something that the CIA said was no bueno. You know, we don't believe in that. And then they declassify some documents, Stargate, I want to say they're called, and you go and read them. And I was actually able to unredact the things that were redacted. I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm supposed to. Don't be coming. Sky hookers or nothing. No sky hookers over here. This is a sky hook free zone. And but it's about the vibrations, and that's what Lori was all about. Going to the temple raises your vibrations. Chad was teaching her that too. They believe that these assholes were going into the temples and doing this. So whether they're holy or not, that's a individual person by person, but you know, that's up to you. But I believe it's intent, you know, and anyways, I think it's just, it's, sinister, because it's like you leave the regular congregation, going to church meeting houses, and then you double down and you give your life over to the temple and you become temple worthy, which, what does that mean really? In this case, in my opinion, it's like, that's a damn secret society is what that is, because I can't go in there. I wouldn't either. I would not step foot in there. I don't think I could. My body rebukes it. I'm like, oh, you know, feel the heaviness. And you're just like, But, and Lori, her taking away her temple recommend was, I mean, it was a threat to her. Charles was a threat to having her temple recommend taken away. And she's not the only one. Hector Sosa. I mean, I've seen a lot of people be like this with their temple recommend. And I'm like, what's so damn good about a damn card or whatever, you know? I mean, it's so important to you that you'll kill. You know, Lori says that in a recording that Melanie Gibb did early on, right? And she says, I was going to murder him. I was going to do just like the scripture said. If he comes at you once, if he comes at you twice, if he comes at you 3 times, see, it says it right here in the scriptures. I did not want to do anything. Wait, I almost have it memorized. I didn't want to do anything, whatever. I just wanted a murderous heart or whatever. And she's like, just wanted to stop the bleeding and stop the pain. And so I went to my bishop and basically, give me my temple recommend or I'm going to murder. And then she got her temple recommend and she murdered. Okay. She's a heifer. She's a hooker. And yeah, just the same way Lori lied to Community Bridges, you know, I mean, just saying, flying colors, right? And so how many of these practicing, believing Mormons, worthy, temple worthy Mormons are doing the same thing and thinking it's okay? But I'm not like Lori, you know, I don't kill my kids. See, my kids are alive now, but it's like, where's that slippery slope? You know, what was offered? Who gave her and Chad missions? I believe their missions were assigned to them. Okay. I do. I'll prove it one day when I get there. Anyways, I hope y'all had a good time, or at least learned some stuff. I know it's horrible shit, but at least we do it together. There's no I in team, but there is an M and an E. So, all right, bye. Bye, guys. Love you, and see you mañana. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Love always wins. You're proof. The devil. Mama said, Mama said.